the second we start talking, you'll forget that there are microphones, cameras, any of that stuff will go away. So if it's okay with you, what I'll do is I'll count down 3, 2, 1. Let's all take a really deep breath together. Let's let the breath out, and then we'll just look around the table and make sure that we all feel good, and then we'll get started from there. Okay. So 3, 2, 1. How you feel?
Good.
Good.
Relaxed.
Well,
Yes.
welcome to the Unscripted room. Today's theme is living outside the box. And the idea of this theme was to be able to kind of show what it's like to have taken a less traditional path to being able to create a really amazing life. I think from the conversation we've already had out there and then carrying that into here, we could not be luckier to have the guests that we have with us for this theme today. I think we're going to have an amazing conversation, which is the goal. And that's it. Let's just have a really great time. We'll always get started with our first question. So I'm going to hand this over to you, Rosa, if you want to get started with that.
Yes. Only conversation that matters.
Bring my glass
Oh,
It's okay.
to read my.
One of us can read it if it's
Okay,
hard to see.
Well, just because I can't see anything without it there.
I love
We'll
the
figure it out.
seal. It's a microphone with
Yeah.
the
We're
words.
trying.
That's so cool. All right. Ready?
The winner is.
When you hear the phrase living outside the box, what part of your own life come to mind first? I'm going to repeat it again. When you hear the phrase living outside the box, what part of your own life comes to mind first?
Anybody can answer? Anything come to mind for anybody?
Do you know what the first thing came through my mind? Immigration, how I immigrated outside of my country and kind of reborn coming here. I was a young adult. I mean, I wasn't a child. I already had a life, family, friends, and I was 25 years old. So I have to literally came here, reborn again, and live outside of the other box that it was outside the south border. So that's the first thing that came to mind.
What was the reason why at 25 you decided to make such a huge change? Because that is like
Huge.
And I think for people who have never done something like that, like I'm not sure I could even understand what it would be like to culturally shift my entire life to a place and be able to restart. And you came to Amesbury, is that right?
I came to Florida first. Yes. My first husband is from Sarasota, Florida, and
Okay.
he was an expat, a young expat living in Mexico.
Okay.
And we got married in Mexico, beautiful, in Tulum, 20 plus years ago. And we had a child there, and we had to come back. He did not want to come back to live here, but we were so young. He had to get a different job, got laid off. So we moved here, and it was he's from here. It was a shock for him, and it was even worse for me. And I was privileged, like you see all the stories out there with immigrants right now. I was very privileged. I came on a flight. We got the best lawyer in Miami, and my paperwork was said and done in less than 2 months. I had my work visa and my Social Security. So it was easy that way, but it's still very hard. So I can imagine the people that, do it the hard way, and then on top of that, they get to be point out. And so I was a little privileged, but still, it was hard. It was hard the transition, awful.
When you got here, what was the hardest thing to adapt to?
The people, the language, the food. Food was, I come from Mexico, and it's like, what is this? I lived in a very beautiful part in Mexico. I came from Puerto Aventuras, which is south of Cancun. So I live in Cancun, Playa del Carmen, in Puerto Aventuras. So it was beautiful. I came to Sarasota, Florida, beautiful. But just it was like all weird, like the buildings and the people, and it has to be everything by the book. Like I remember thinking about play dates. What is that? Like in Mexico, you just show up. Like we don't have to plan a play date. So here is very, very like planned accordingly. Everything is organized, which is I'm used to now. But that was the hardest, and it was like just to get accustomed that it was really hard. So I was only 1 year in Florida. And then my sister lived in Amesbury. I came to visit, and I was like, I got to get out of Florida. And I'm not saying anything about from Florida. It's just I had one family member here.
You can if you want to. We probably only have 11 listeners right now, so I don't think any of them are from Florida, so I think you're going to be okay.
No, but I don't want to, people. So I came to Amesbury after living 1 year in Florida, and I love New England, and I've been in Newburyport since. And
What's it like dealing with the seasons?
I love it.
You do?
Oh my gosh.
Okay,
I
so
love
it's
it.
not like the winters aren't twice as hard for you having grown up in a warm climate?
Not at all.
Wow.
And
Okay.
I was an ignorant, but when I came, like I never seen the snow in my life, and I was so excited. So I didn't have any boots, any coats, any nothing. So I didn't know what it was like. And I remember the first snowstorm. Someone is like, Rosa, you coming over? Like my friends, it was gonna be we're gonna get snowed in. I'm like, don't worry about it. I'll be there. I didn't know. I thought the snow was gonna move like driving. I thought it was just gonna plow away. I was so ignorant. I didn't know. But I learned my lesson. I got stuck, and then I had to get towed out and stuff like that. But no, I love it. I love it. I love it. I truly enjoy the fact that we move from the spring to the summer. The summer, you get sicker at the sun and this heat, and then you go to the fall, and it's beautiful. And then the food, how it changes, everything. I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
I'm still here. I'm here by choice. I love it here.
Good. Well, I last year ended up going on a trip and became friends with somebody that was born in Venezuela, moved to Miami, and probably when she was like 8 or 9 years old.
Yeah.
And it was so interesting to be able to talk to her about like cultural differences between even growing up, for the most part, growing up in the United States, but having spent time in Venezuela, having, it was so clear that her family dynamic was all built around joy. Mm-hmm. And so many people that live in New England, I would say, myself included, like our family dynamic is very much built around discipline.
Correct.
And it's so interesting to be able to dissect the difference between the two, because there's definitely pros and cons to both, right? Like
Correct,
the great thing about discipline is that you tend to get a lot of things done, and it can be productive. But man, I became so jealous of what it would be like to find that joy so readily, especially when she described her family. It was like it was just an abundance of joy all the time.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
what I felt when I was listening to you, is that you must have
Yeah.
the same feeling.
And when I moved here from New Mexico, it was 26 years ago. I would be in an elevator and I'd say good morning, and people would be like, "Why
Yeah.
are you talking to me?"
Yeah.
And it was like, or I'd say hello, and they were like, "Really? Why are you
Wow.
talking to me?"
Yeah.
So that was kind of odd for me.
Well, culture that is in Denmark, and I say hello to everyone too. And my friend said, "Oh, you probably shouldn't do that because you're breaking their personal space."
Oh.
So even there, they're not looking to do that, not because they're unfriendly, just that they've had this other thing. And I know in
Yeah.
Netherlands, if you work too
Yeah.
long, your boss might come to you and say, is there a problem at home? Because your work balances out of whack.
Yeah.
Like you spend too much time at work.
Yeah.
Why aren't
Right.
you home with your family? And
I mean, it is the interesting thing about the United States, though, is that our greatest strength, undoubtedly, is that we're a melting pot.
Yeah.
Yes.
But we have so many different cultures that have mixed together to try to figure out, like, what does this culture mean when you've essentially taken people from all over the world that have added that together.
Right.
And it's a really interesting social experiment. I mean, I think it's happening in real time right
now.
Well, yeah, and each state is like a different country in Europe.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, because when I used to work in Europe, they would say, "Oh, you get to go to Chicago, and you get to go to, Dallas, and you get to," and I'm like, "Okay, but you're going to Italy and Paris and
London,
And so it was
right?
so
Yeah.
funny how the way that we looked at it, was
Different,
so
yeah.
different in different eyes.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking, "Oh, I can't wait to start doing all those things," and they were thinking, "Oh, Chicago and
New York. Yeah.
It is training was a really interesting vantage point to be able to meet people from all over the country. And what I found was that the East Coast is a little bit prickly.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, people are not friendly to you right away. The Midwest is obviously very, very friendly, and they're very inviting. And then the West Coast, I would say, is very friendly, but it felt harder to know when that was authentic.
Oh yeah.
And that was always the gap that I found from one side of the country to the other, is that in Boston, New York, if you were training in those areas, they weren't nice to you, but once you got into their good graces, you were never going to leave.
That's
Right.
like
And
in
it was
France.
very
It's like that,
authentic.
Yeah.
Sometimes in California, you could feel like you were in good people's, or just anywhere on the West Coast,
That's so
really,
true.
but you were in people's good graces, but you never knew whether that was, couldn't,
Authentic.
Yeah, authentic. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's like in sales too. Like how you sell on the West Coast and on the East Coast are completely different.
Oh.
On the West Coast, let's go have a Starbucks and sing kumbaya and just relax. And on the East Coast, it's bada bing, bada boom, get it. And I found that a
Interesting.
lot.
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Which style do you like more?
bada bing, bada boom.
I love
That's why I'm here. New Mexico is a little slow for me.
Oh yeah, Mexico's too slow.
Yeah.
We have no discipline. Like I said, we have like play days. We're late all the time. Now that I'm being here for so long, every time I go there, I have to like make myself like I think about it. Like Rosa, okay, you're not. I pretty much feel like I'm not from there anymore because I'm used to the
Yeah.
life here. The fast pace, but over there they're so slow.
Yeah.
If I'm invited to a party, baby shower, wedding, they said at 3 p.m. Don't show up at 3 p.m. Show up at like 5 or 6. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
It's just so like that. It's
Yeah.
so slow. You're
Yeah.
so right
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah. It's a tough question, though, because we only get one life,
Yes.
right? And so the time that we're using in this life is so precious all the time. And it's tough to say whether we shouldn't be going to parties and just enjoying being with people from 3 o'clock until whenever it ends. It's weird when you live in a place where you feel like you're constantly feeling, even when other people aren't rushing you, you're constantly feeling like there's something else you should be doing all the
Yeah.
time.
Right.
I don't know if that's good for us or not. It's hard to say,
Yeah, I know myself.
tough one.
I'm more always get there early. Try to get there.
Yes.
And I get nervous if I'm late. And then John, my significant other, he we'll get there. Don't worry about it. And I
I'm
get
the
so
same way.
nervous. And I'm
I get
just like,
nervous,
hurry
yeah.
up, hurry up.
Yeah.
So.
So for the two of you, did you have any thoughts that came to mind when you thought about living outside the box?
I did, because I grew up. Well, I still have it. I'm dyslexic, so I'm old. So when I grew up, they didn't test you. They didn't.
Yeah,
so
that's
you
true.
kind of just feel stupid. So my father would, with math, I would do it a different way. I'd always get the right answer, and he'd always tell me, "Here, Michelli, just do the Greek math. Just do it this way." Then later found out he was dyslexic too. But yeah, and my brother too. I found out it was kind of crazy. But anyway, and I couldn't understand what does it matter if I'm getting the right answer.
Right.
I agree with you.
And then, but I just kind of felt stupid. Then but I always had to think outside the box all the time to, come up with whatever answers, and my mind just worked differently. And then as I grew up and I looked at that, I thought, actually, it's an asset.
Yeah.
Because I can think outside of the box and I can quickly think of things to help my clients or my friends or my family get out of situations, come up with new ideas, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
So, it really turned around for me,
Yeah.
but that was the first thing that I thought about.
That's awesome.
One thing that, for a lot of people who have lived non-traditional lives, a lot of times that does start at school. That you realize that there's just something about the way that I go through school that's different than everybody else that I'm seeing going through school, and it seems to be that separation. But I think it brings us to a really interesting question, which is, what is intelligence?
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And I don't know if the three of you have any thoughts on that, but obviously everybody around this table is extremely intelligent, right? But if you measured that by taking a test or you did these more traditional versions, it would separate us.
Absolutely.
And yet, we don't have any lack of intelligence to be able to share with each other. So I think it deserves us to be able to talk a little bit more about what is intelligence exactly. And have we been too tight with the way that we categorize that, or does it need to become much more broad in the way that we think and express it to each other?
Yeah. I know to take tests, I get myself too worked up that I'm going to do it wrong, so that I kind of set myself up. And I remember when I was going to UNM and I was taking environmental law, and the professor would always tell me, "You do so poorly on the test, but in class you can cite those Code of Federal Regulations."
Wow.
And it's because I had that thought that I was, I couldn't do it. And so I think that that's why, for actual tests like that, I don't do as well, Then you hear about a lot of CEOs that, they're dyslexic and
Yeah.
they, like Jobs and those guys, and they had to think outside of the box.
Right.
So then you think, oh, okay, well then maybe it's not so good. Yeah, but you kind of think that when you're growing up.
In the restaurant, every time I get someone and I'm training someone or I hire someone, and I give cooking classes too. I always tell them I'm going to give you the basics, but as long as you get me you can change it the way you want. As long as you give me the product I want, I don't mind how you do it. I always said that because I learned that we all are different. Like you said, intelligence. Like I'm the same way. Like if I do a test, I'm terrible, but put me in front of people, like I'll be able to do whatever. And,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
yes,
Yeah.
I resonate with what you said. Like incredible.
No, I was just thinking when you were saying that, it's often I think people that do rise to the top often have really ways of doing things so differently.
Right.
And maybe it is dyslexic or it's something that they lived outside the box that lets them see it differently. So it is curious when you say that. Dyslexia.
Yeah.
That's
You have to
that's
come up
another
different
funny
ways.
one too, because it seems like it seems strange that somebody who's doing it differently rises to the top until you really think about it, and then you're like, where else could they go?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like the only way, like if you don't differentiate yourself, then you end up being with everyone else. So the only way that you can actually start to rise in any way is to make sure that you are 100% your unique self, so that everybody understands the differentiation between you and everyone else.
Yeah.
It's so annoyingly not available to kids, though. You know what I mean? Because so many kids are not thinking about it that way. They're thinking that the goal is to be a part of this thing and to fit into this thing.
Yeah.
And they're not realizing that their real gift is being completely hidden in that as soon as they start trying to go in those directions.
And being an individual, I think we all have this belongingness that we want. But you can belong and be different. You can belong and be the same.
Yeah.
Have that uniqueness.
As
About
far
you.
as, say again?
And to have that uniqueness about yourself.
Yes, yeah.
That makes you who you are, actually.
That's right.
That's all it is.
Yeah, and value your own uniqueness. I feel like, oh, I wish I was more like whatever that person has, faster on the track. But then you've got something else. Like that thing where I am so glad there are people that want to be accountants because you have to be so meticulous. If you're like a bank clerk, they've got to get every number right. I could never do that. It's
Same.
sort of, I'm glad that there are people that are able to do
Yeah.
that.
So what do you think your uniqueness is? Like now that you've been able to go through more of your life and you've been able to have all these life experiences, built your career, like have you been able to define what makes you feel completely Nina? Like what makes you feel you?
I don't know about me, but look, you would ask me about, we just finished the first year, and you said, how was the first year? I said, great. Everyone that comes in is an individual. It's so fun just to see who comes in, get chatting, see what their life is like. So for me, I guess I really enjoy whatever story people have.
Yeah.
I love that.
I hope I don't chat too much.
Have you always been interested in people? Was that always your...
No, I used to be really shy. I don't know. But everything's curious, like everything.
Yeah.
You know those tests you do, what would you like to do? They're like, doctor, lawyer, banker, gardener, bus driver. I'm like, yeah. Because they all look great, don't they?
Yeah.
You learn something different in each one. It'd be
Absolutely.
amazing to be. You
Yeah.
just don't have enough time to be all those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does seem like the highest expression of humanity is being a lifelong learner. Like never, ever giving yourself permission to think that you know enough. We're in a very, very interesting time, right? Because we all just created AI.
Yes.
AI has all of the world's information. There are tons of part of this conversation that can feel very, very intimidating. I think that we're about to head into the greatest prosperity humanity has ever seen, because this is the beginning of the greatest equality of opportunity the world has ever seen.
Absolutely.
For all of human history, knowledge has been how people separate power from people who have it and do not have it. It has always
Right.
been
That's a
about
good
who
point.
knows and who does not
That's
know.
right.
Yeah.
And they use that knowledge to be able to keep some people up and some people down. But now when everybody shares
Has access.
Yeah.
and not only access to because there'll still be knowledge. It's like, I've got a secret, you don't
Yeah,
know the secret.
yeah. what
But knowledge being like, what what was this conflict all about? Why did this happen? What happened over here? All of this stuff. It doesn't have feelings about that. It just goes and figures out what is the, what is the consensus on how that happened, and gives you the best answer it can about the way that it perceives the balance between all of that. It's not perfect. Right. But I am so grateful that we are starting to head into an era where more and more people don't have to be haves and have nots, because everybody's going to be on an equal playing field for knowledge.
Love it.
I feel like the internet was already doing that. It
Yeah.
felt like you could find anything you wanted to, and it was free to everybody.
Right.
Somehow I think the internet really, helped out a lot before AI.
Yeah. Yeah. And almost like, without being technical about it, the internet is AI.
Yeah, I think so.
It's just, it's like the more mature version of how that all evolved. I think we might have talked about this one other time when we had one of our, great conversations. But it's wild how much has happened in our lifetimes.
Yeah.
If you are, so I'm in my mid 40s, and I will have had a analog childhood and a digital adulting.
Same.
And our kids, though, will have only lived in a digital world.
Right.
So we've
Right.
had to try to understand our childhoods, process our childhoods, and then make sure that we don't think that our kids' childhoods are exactly the same as ours.
Yeah.
It's like, we're living in a wild time. If you go back, the amount of progress that was made in 100 years,
Yeah.
500 years ago was almost nothing. If you look at the
Right.
technology that
Yeah.
evolves over 100 years,
Right.
500 years ago,
Yeah, just
which
even in
is
my lifetime.
Right.
And
And then we blow up.
I just turned 68 on Sunday. And,
Happy birthday.
so it's, to see all of the different things that have happened, and where you were when these things happened. And,
Right.
if you ask one of my grandchildren or, what a rotary phone is, they wouldn't know what you're talking about. They don't even know what a flip phone is
Yeah.
probably. But, so, it's just so different. And everything that used to take up a whole room for a
Yeah.
computer, is on our iPhone.
so
How is it?
ahead,
Sorry.
sorry.
How is it with your business? I mean, your marketing. You went through like the whole technology pattern or path. How is it like?
It's just learning.
yeah,
it's just
that's
learning
all-
for us as
amazing.
much as we help our
Yeah.
clients. I mean, it's every day you're learning something new.
That's awesome.
And sharing and learning from them.
Yeah.
Sometimes they show you something that you didn't even know about. So it's very cool. Yeah, it's very just
That's-
being open to listening and
And
learning.
learn, and learn,
that's
yeah.
the best conversations I can have is to just listen to what they say. And it's not always sometimes the conversation of what the topic is, but it's how you come out, how you feel when you come out of it.
Okay.
And how you when we've had our conversations. And you just feel so good afterwards, and you just be able to be yourself,
Yeah.
and all of those kinds of things. I think it makes a big difference.
Yeah. I think that there's, growing up, I had a brother who was, still is a brilliant human being. The kind of person who has one of those magnetic memories, where like you just say something,
Jealous.
exactly, or like he reads something, or you're talking
goodness.
to him and he starts giving you facts. Oliver has this kind of too, and you're like, come on, you're kind of full of shit, right? Because there's no way, like, if I read all day, every day, I wouldn't know as much as you know
Yeah.
right now. So how is it possible that you're doing this? And then you look into it and you're like, oh my God, he's actually right.
No
This
way.
is-
Yeah.
But the thing that you can see over time, especially when it's a sibling, is that if you have a magnetic memory, sometimes it also blocks you from being able to feel a room. You know what I mean? Because your brain is processing information so fast. It's trying to gather everything that it can.
my
It's
God.
reading everything that's on
Yeah, I
the
didn't think
walls.
about
It's
that.
looking at this. It's looking at this. And I think maybe one of the things that would be really interesting to figure out about the four of us is part of people who take a less traditional path, is it that maybe we have a less traditional brain? That we walk into
Absolutely.
a room and instead of processing all of the information in the room, we're processing the feelings. We're trying to figure out, like, okay,
Yeah.
what's everybody's mood? Can
Right.
I read your body language? Can I see how your eyes look? Can I see how your face looks? Are all of these things where our intelligence thrives?
Yeah.
And you have to have one part of your intelligence turned down for that one to be turned up.
Right.
Yeah, and I know with myself when I've gone into big meetings and I like to shake everyone's hand as I walk in because then I'm going to know who's going to be the one who's going to give me a hard time.
I love
Just
it.
by
Oh,
shaking
tell
their
us more.
hand.
Explain
Yeah.
that.
No, I don't know. It was weird. I used to tell one of the gals that used to work with me, she'd say, "How do you know every single time the one who's going to ask all the questions and ask?" And it also by shaking their hand and
yeah.
touching them, I wasn't as afraid to get up and speak.
Oh,
in
that's
front of them.
interesting.
Oh, wow.
So
You
I
made
don't
contact.
know what that was.
Was it the
But-
power of their grip? Was it the way that they looked
No,
at you?
no,
Is there
no. I
anything
just
that
have
you're
a feeling. I just
That's
sometimes when
cool.
people walk by, I can feel like if
just an
they're-
intuition?
They're
Like,
they're a good person or not.
I saw your eyes. You're like,
Oh, let's
yeah.
This is what they say. We actually know things before we even know it. Because
Yeah.
as
Yes.
animals,
Yes.
you had this sort of
Yes.
flight and fright. So we actually
Yeah.
probably have all these things we don't even know we have,
Yeah.
these abilities. Like
Yeah.
you said,
Yeah.
intuition is something we're not used to even registering.
Right, right.
Yeah, I feel like
But that's
we all
interesting.
wire differently. That's like my go-to, and the same. When I give cooking classes, I know who's gonna give me the hard time, and I don't shake their hands. I just present myself. I get my story, and I can see by the body language or the eyes or whatever. The little thing, and I know that person, but I always like end up warming them up, and yeah, it's fine. I fix everything with food, so it's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
So this is interesting, though, and is the hard time people. It's like, what is it that they're bringing to the table that they're the hard time person? Is it
Right.
is it that they're shy or they feel that they don't, well, like a million reasons, even though we might call them the hard time person.
But
Why
they could
is
have
it?
had something
Yeah,
bad happen
correct.
to them that day.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely.
Can I present a theory based on
Yes,
doing
please.
tons of training? What I came to understand is that no one has bad behaviors without feeling insecure.
Oh, okay.
There is no reason that you would ever exhibit a bad behavior if you felt secure.
Right.
So people who tend to create problems for other people, they're masking their insecurity by feeling like they can be in control of a situation by creating some sort of friction that then
Absolutely.
distracts people from whatever it is that they're hoping that they don't see.
Yeah.
That's true. That's
My-
a good
That's very
point.
true.
I can see that.
My experience is that it's actually way more often than not, it's a subconscious behavior. So they're not even aware of the fact that
that
they're
they're
feeling
doing it.
insecure because they, for whatever reason, feel like they don't want to explore their own thoughts and feelings. So they keep it in their subconscious, and then it creates these patterns that they don't even understand why they're happening. Because a good example of this is like breathing is in your subconscious. Right, so you don't have to think about it. Thank God. If we were having this conversation and all four of us were like, "No, breathe, quick, get back to it. Don't let it go." It wouldn't work very well.
Yeah.
So thank goodness we have lots of things that can fall into our subconscious. But it's also incredible if you get into a high tense situation, how you can be like, "Oh, okay, let me focus on
Yeah.
my breathing."
Oh yeah.
And you can go to something that was subconscious and you can make it conscious. And then all of a sudden it is a primary focus for you to be able to make huge changes. I don't think that fundamentally there's really any difference for people that want to change their behavior. They just have to figure out how they identify it in their subconscious and then they bring it up to a conscious level so that you can actually make change. Because nothing changes at a subconscious level. It's just a repeating pattern that goes and goes and goes. But when it gets brought up, then you're like, well, do I want this? Do I not want this?
If they bring it up.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't because they're, I don't know, maybe narcissistic or there's
Right.
something too. That
I was
they,
just gonna ask.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it doesn't ever happen because they don't see that there's a problem, So.
or they perceive the problem as a benefit to them and they don't care about you.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So.
That happens a lot.
And then there's the other one that's slightly the flip coin of that is, something's on your mind all the time, like, oh, you're being judged. And I don't know if you ever your parents say, they're not even thinking about you.
Right.
But you're thinking about this all the time. They might even notice this thing that is on your conscious so much. So it's another thing to like put it into the subconscious and not have it all the time.
Yeah. Looping thoughts can be very,
Yeah.
very difficult, especially when you're in a place of recovery from something.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I always tell my kids, stop playing that record in your head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just.
Well, tomorrow's episode is going to be language and thought. And, how does that how does that affect the outcomes of your life? But we were really excited to do that episode too, because we were like, man, there's so much that you learn about the way that you tell your story to yourself that ends up becoming the reality that you live every day.
Yeah.
And we were excited to explore that because that is fascinating, isn't
Excellent.
it?
Yeah.
That's true.
And those recurring thoughts are sometimes they come in drips and drabs. And then other times you can get into moments where it's like a tsuami of the same thought happening over and over again that you can't escape. And those are scary.
Yeah.
And nobody teaches you how to deal with those. You know, there's not really an easy tool for that.
Now, I don't know if it happens to people, but there's that weird thing for me, and you have a problem or something that you're anxious about, and at night you could lose all this sleep, and it's really anxious.
Oh,
in the morning,
God.
somehow the daylight, it dissipates, or it's less.
Yeah.
Does that ever
Right.
happen to you?
Of the time.
Like, I
All
don't know
the
the
time.
nighttime happens, but
All the
those are
time.
rough
Do you
times
think it's
for
the
people.
sleep that's allowing it to dissipate? Or do you think it's something about the, like a lunar cycle that's making things come in and out? Or
No, I feel like it's something about when the sun rises. It's a different day.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's unexplainable.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was listening to a podcast the other day, totally unrelated to this in some ways, but the idea was that they were saying that maybe the sun isn't as dangerous for us as we've always thought. And that especially for people who have, for me, it's probably dangerous because I'm so pale. But for anybody who's not as pale as I am, that the chance of getting skin cancer is like next to zero if you have darker skin.
Yeah.
And it's only if you allow yourself to get burnt all the time.
Right.
And that in a lot of ways that the suntan lotion stuff that we've been using has chemicals in it that
terrible.
may be even worse.
Yeah.
for-
I know. That's what
Yeah,
some
yeah.
people say.
so there, I do think that there are maybe there's a part of all of us that we just need to talk about more often. That's like, man, I do feel way better when I get out in the sun, and I know that produces vitamin D in my body, and I know like at the end of a winter I'm really struggling, and then all of a sudden the first day in the spring that you can get out. Maybe there's just a natural cycle to that where we're meant to wake up early in the morning and have the sun out and be like,
It's a new day.
Well,
fuck yeah,
a
it's a new day.
therapist told
Let's
me
go
one
for this,
time
you know?
True.
that when you take a half an hour walk, it's the same as taking an antidepressant pill
Oh, no way.
because
Aw.
it just the sun
Yes,
and
the
being
sun,
out and
yeah.
getting fresh air.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of thing. So
Yeah, totally.
And even chemically, I heard that if you go out for that early morning walk, it sets your melatonin for the day.
Yep.
Yeah.
That we need that cycle of that. So, we're working inside all the time. We miss having that natural cycle of being out in the sun or being out in
Right.
daylight. And,
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful that people are talking about it now more often because it's a pretty common conversation, but it's weird that your brain makes all these chemicals.
Yes, totally.
Isn't that wild?
I know.
Isn't it wild that
Crazy.
you have a nervous system that's measuring these things all the time, and then without you even having to think about it, your brain is
It's
creating
already-
creating all the
Crazy.
things that these pharmaceutical companies are just trying to
Yeah.
repeat
Yep.
and resell, and yet your brain naturally is creating all of these things. Equally interesting, that would appear that we're all so beautifully diverse.
Yeah.
That it's such a wide spectrum that the amount that my brain makes is different than the amount that your brain makes. And so that there is no way for there to be a one size fits all version of anything.
Correct.
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah,
Nothing.
absolutely.
And even like these double placebo tested things, they're not really telling you that the diversity of the people who are doing that may have also come into effect. Like, we are so wildly the same.
Yeah.
And yet all of our bodies and minds have just those little teeny tiny variances in them that make us so uniquely,
Different and
yeah.
Yeah, we're like pharmacies inside. We
Yeah.
just have to give it time because one of the things I had heard is that you catch something, your body's trying to figure out, have I had it before?
Yeah.
And if you had, you already have the antibiotics. And if you haven't, it's trying to figure out how to take care of it.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we then take a pill that disrupts that. Otherwise, we could have been making some of those. Now, that's not everything, but yeah, it is wild that we've got this. Nature does provide for us inside.
Yeah, we were talking about it earlier. I grew up in a household where my parents were very, I would say, spiritual, but not religious. So we didn't have a church. We didn't have anything that we were going to like that. And I, in some ways, even now raising my own kids, kind of feel like I wish that I could have gone back and raised my kids in a church, because I think that spiritual community has tremendous value to it. But that it's really wild when you think about how much your body can do. even for anybody who doesn't have the highest level of spirituality, it has to make you wonder how we ended up this perfect.
Yeah.
You know, because I've never done anything in my life that didn't become better because I made it a little bit better. Right. So the idea that we just are this, you know, is so magical and crazy. And I think that that's one of the coolest places that curiosity exists is just in the wonder of it all. Like there's just so many things that no matter how smart we get in being able to come up with an understanding of it, we'll never know enough to know everything. That's awesome. Right. Like in our lifetime, we won't even come close.
We only use just so little of our brain too.
Right. That's
You
true.
know, it's true. So
I hope they never find out everything, because it is something really, the poetic part and the spiritual part, but wow, it was amazing. Eyes, like we can see, like everything is amazing if we look at it. Yeah.
Yeah. And how everything works has the potential to be able to work in symmetry. You know, there's some amazing things like I have a deck, and there's always these sparrows that are flying around, and I'm not like I've never been a bird watcher. I'm not even I wouldn't say I'm a huge animal person. Like I love animals and I only want great things for them, but I've seen other people who are just like captivated by animals at all times, and I've never had that experience. I feel that way about humans. But these sparrows are so interesting. The way that they will dive and the way that they stay in like together in groups and all the things that you're doing, they're like, who programmed you?
yeah.
Right.
Who taught you how to do this? How
know.
did, you know, is
Yeah.
this play?
Yeah.
I
Is that what
know.
I'm watching? Are you guys
Yeah,
playing right
yeah.
now? Or were you programmed to do this dive and this
Yeah.
thing and that thing? It's so fascinating
That is
Yeah.
fascinating.
It
that
was
once you
true.
watch anything for long enough and you really try to get to like the core of whatever that thing is doing, you realize that once you kind of understand, if you could master anything, you kind of understand what it is to master everything. Like the pattern that exists over here is probably very similar to the pattern that exists over there.
Yeah.
Very
And
interesting.
You're talking about the birds. So when I mentioned earlier that I had lost some siblings, and when my youngest brother passed, he was only 47 and he passed quickly. I was having a cup of tea, and I had never seen a cardinal in my yard.
Yeah.
And one came and just was there forever. And then just kind of shook his head like this and flew away. And then I'd always, whenever I would be thinking of him, I would see cardinals. And I had never really seen cardinals around. And when we went 8 years ago, when we went to look at the house that we purchased, in our kitchen there's a bay window, and I by that time I had lost several of my siblings and family members, and so John, my significant other, he said, "You got to come here. You got to come here." There was 7 cardinals
No way.
in the yard, and I said, "We have to buy this house. It's all my people."
Oh,
so
my God.
yeah, and they come all the time, and it is like the coolest thing, And
I'm a true believer.
and I really,
Yeah.
I
Me
believe
too.
in all that
So,
kind
Michelle,
of stuff.
I'm genuinely sorry for your loss. That is a
Oh,
lot
same.
of,
Yeah, so
and
sorry.
siblings are so powerful to us, But can we celebrate your siblings is there a relationship between cardinals and do you
Well,
know
well,
something about that animal that makes you feel like you're,
when my youngest passed, that cardinal came, and then it just has been.
did he have a personality that was kind of like a cardinal in some way? Was there some
He
sort
was
of,
very brilliant and bright. Johnny
Oh, there you
was,
go.
and had the biggest white smile. Yeah, and so he was always really happy, and I don't know, but they always come and they're really really brilliant red.
was
and
he an
then-
outside the box guy?
Yeah.
Aw.
How? What's his story?
He just kind of, I don't know how to explain it. He was just a really, both my brothers were just really great guys and just do anything for anybody. And, they both did think outside. Johnny might have been dyslexic too. Mario, I know, was.
man.
Because that was what I found out later.
Yeah.
But we all just kind of did our own, did things in our own way, kind of. And my other 2 sisters, they were always kind of by the book,
Yeah.
kind of way.
wow.
And my brothers and I, we were just kind of that way. So I don't know.
It's funny how dyslexia, because I've heard this a lot, and I even said to Nina earlier that I think that I also would have been diagnosed as dyslexic, just based on how slow I read. They probably diagnosed me just for that alone. But it's so interesting to think about the idea that it's because you think differently that opens up these new, it's like someone who loses their vision that all of a sudden increases their sense of smell.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
exactly.
that's-
And,
that's
we had
insane.
spoken earlier about this another time that we were talking that, reading. I don't like to read. Well, I have to read for work. But I mean, just so I listen to a lot of audiobooks. And John will tell me, I'll finish a book and he'll say, "Oh, you're so well read." And I say, "No, I'm well read too." Yeah.
I know someone who has dyslexic, and they run a line where they didn't know, same thing, older, and brilliant musician, made all their own marks, didn't learn how to read music. So their whole compositions are these incredible little marks that they would understand as a musician. But in school, they put them in the dummy class.
Yeah.
Oh,
They
no.
have this genius
Yeah.
musician
Yeah.
and really intelligent, but never challenged. And you sort of go off this way. You have to really work hard to pull yourself back because everyone perceives you in school as being
Yeah.
the
Dummy,
guy that
yeah.
doesn't
When,
have.
in
So-
school,
That's
one of
terrible.
my friends and we made up our own sign language. And I still remember it to
Let's
this
see
day.
it.
How
What
to
do we
No
got?
way.
It's A, B, C, D, E, F,
Oh, wow.
H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T,
That's
no,
great.
R, S, T, W, X, X, Y, and Z.
Wow. Woo.
Yeah, I'm just trying to
That was-
imagine
that
you
was like
just
when I was really
spelling it
little.
out to each other across
Yeah,
the room,
yeah.
one letter at a time.
Yeah,
That's
and we
amazing.
were fast at it.
Wow.
And maybe she thought outside of the box. I don't know.
There you
but,
go, yeah.
But it was our own little language, and
That is so
nobody knew it.
cool.
And everybody was doing Pig Latin then, and different things
Yeah,
to so nobody would know what they were talking about. And we had our own, and we were fast at it. It's been a long time.
That's
I mean,
impressive.
we were young. So that I still kind
So
of.
one thing that seems to be coming up between all of us is that anybody who's would consider themselves outside the box probably struggled in traditional school systems.
Oh, absolutely.
So what's the solution to that? Like, what should we be doing with our school systems to make sure that people who are non-traditional thinkers aren't feeling dumb? Because that's a major loss to the world if you have brilliant young people who are going through school and their self-esteem is going down
That's
and
what
down and
happens
down.
right there.
And the
Your
other thing about
self-esteem goes
self-esteem is we talked about earlier, if we could just, even if it's not true, I don't know that this is true for sure, but if we just made the assumption that no bad behaviors come from secure people, that bad behaviors only come from people who are feeling insecure. Well, the way that you feel insecure is that you have people who make your self-esteem go lower and lower and lower and lower. People who are around people who make them feel esteemed don't tend to feel as insecure. So what can we do to help these kids? What should we be doing with school systems to try to improve this? Because this is a pretty big problem.
So, growing up in Mexico, I never had the opportunity to go to college. Like, we didn't have resources, and I actually just put myself in college. I went to I went to a community college when I started the business, and I transferred to a university. And they actually, where I go in Suffolk University, they're actually doing pretty good. They all about AI, which is great. They just teach you how to use it wisely. And another thing, some of the tests I noticed, they actually put it in there. Hey, you want to submit this on a written, or you want to take a video? You want to shoot a video? I love that. I love that university. Yeah, I don't know if
Okay.
everybody's doing that, but I'm a senior now, and I love it. Like I've succeeded in ways that I never thought I would have.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, I'm so proud of myself. I'm like, what?
Yeah, you should be proud.
Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm doing
that's
this.
awesome.
But at the same time, I feel like they're changing the ways that they are teaching nowadays. I
Yeah.
can't speak for all the universities and colleges and community, but I can speak with Northern Essex Community College. They're great, and Suffolk University. They're amazing.
Yeah.
So Rosa, now that you're back in school at this phase in your life, how different is it from when you were in school when you were younger? Like, is your attitude towards it different? Do you feel like you have a lot more confidence in your own intelligence? So
Absolutely.
going into school feels
Absolutely.
differently to you? Like, walk us through what that's like to have, you know.
Sometimes I feel intimidated just because of the language barrier. Like, I'm ESL still. I'm learning a new word every day. It's intimidating, but now that I feel a lot confident, I own a business, and I don't like to tell that to my peers. I don't like that, but I feel confident, and I feel like they actually listen to me and take me seriously. besides being younger, when we're young, and like in Mexico, we don't have. Back then, we didn't have those resources like, oh, you're stupid, or you're dumb, like that. It's horrible, horrible. So I feel like here, and maybe because I'm grown now, or this institutions are better, or I don't know. I just feel great. I feel like very confident, and I mean, I can tell you a million things, but it's just like I feel like I belong there, which is great. Like I don't feel intimidated at all. Just sometimes when language and they start talking, but they're very open to every professor that I come across. They want us to succeed. They want us to succeed. I'm like, talk to me. And in communication is everything. Like you gotta like. I always, if I come across something, I always email them a test that I'm like horrible, but I know I can give a presentation. So I always, and they know, they're like, oh my God, one of my concentration, which is global marketing, I was failing the test. Like I got a 58, and I was insane, but I was the best on the presentation. So I got an A plus. So I love him. It's like they see it differently.
No, but that's great that they're doing that.
Yeah,
though.
they're doing that nowadays.
'Cause it
I don't
makes
know.
a really big difference.
Absolutely. Like I can't speak for all the colleges out there, but for those two, for sure. Yeah.
I think there was a book that came out that talked about, it kind of categorized 7 different types of ways that there's intelligence and the way people learn and communicate. And so that's great. They've given you at least 2 of them, the verbal and the written. I got a nephew who's dyslexic, and he was kind of amazing. He would get an assignment. He'd go to the professor immediately, ask him about it, write the paper, then have his professor look at it, rewrite it. He would work twice as hard as everybody, just so that he could try to keep up and do well. But trying to figure out what would work for him.
Right.
Again, another system.
Yeah.
But you said that thing about lifelong learning.
Yeah.
I think that's really, when we're younger, there's so much we have to learn. It's so overwhelming, and at least for us, it was all about grades. Whereas now, you kind of can learn for fun. Your mind is developed. You've had experiences.
Correct.
It's so enjoyable, and
Yes.
it does keep that brain, active and learning and new neural paths. And
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, and John is a academic tutor, so he tutors math.
Wow.
So ACT, SAT, prep, and I hear him speaking to the students, and I'm like, oh, that's so Greek and to me, and I'm Greek, and I don't understand it. And I'm like, oh my God, it's not.
Oh, you mean
my
like
thing.
what
When he's
How did he
teaching
teach
the
it?
kids and he's talking about all these different things, math.
Right.
God.
The
And
Greek
they're
way.
going-
Yeah.
And I'm just like, are you kidding me right
Shelly,
now?
if I told you at what age I stopped being able to help my kids with math, you would be embarrassed on my behalf. You know what I mean? Like it is, it's one of those things.
know.
It's kind of like a foreign language, or it is a
Yes.
foreign language, right? And if you're not in it all
Yeah.
the time, you don't.
Yeah, there's one comedian, and he says, if you had a hard time, doing 7th grade math, and your kid is having a hard time, you're still having a hard time doing 7th grade math. Yeah, but it is true, though. It does feel like a foreign language.
Same to me.
And we'll do, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No.
We'll do he and I will be working on something, and I'll get the same answer as him. And he's always so surprised because
Oh, you
I'm
do
not
it
doing
differently.
it.
Yeah.
He's like, how did you come up with that?
That's awesome.
Because I do it so almost backwards,
Yeah.
I guess, in his way of thinking. But to me, it makes sense. And I might do it longer. I might do
Yeah.
it shorter. I don't know. But
Should it
is
be important
interesting.
the way that we do things, or should the outcome be the only thing that we focus on?
I think it's the outcome.
Me too.
But I don't know because I'm not in math and science. So I don't, I can't really say.
things on that. I feel like outcome is important, and the craziest thing about math is there are multiple ways to do things.
Yes.
So it's astounding
Yes.
that's a system that works. Like math is kind of astounding anyways. We can
Yeah.
describe things through math. But then the other thing is if you only have the outcome, like so I know someone who teaches or tutors kids in Lawrence, and he says a lot of these kids don't know how to. They're smart, but the AI gives them the answers,
Yeah.
so they don't know the basics how to get there sometimes. So that's another thing with the internet and the computers. They can find the answer without knowing how. So all those people that have developed things is kind of knowing. But we're so adaptable as humans. Maybe we're going through another era where we won't be needing some of these things. We'll have these tools, and we'll, like you said,
Absolutely, yeah.
leapfrog beyond what we can even imagine.
It would seem that way, you know what I mean? Like we if you go back 1,000 years, you had to be able to read the stars, and you had to be able to
Oh my
know how to use a map, and you
navigate.
had to,
I'd be so lost.
yeah. Think
Marines,
about
they still do that. Merchant Marines, like
Yeah,
my first husband,
yeah.
he's a Merchant Marine.
Oh,
He
okay.
he knew it was kind of cool because we
Yeah.
used to go camping, and he was like, "Oh, look at that! It was awesome." I was like, "What is that?" And then I started seeing that. That was pretty amazing.
Yeah,
it's
that's
very
It's
cool.
pretty
It's
amazing.
very cool.
Yeah, yeah.
That I was just listening to something not too long ago where they were talking about that there were Native American tribes that had embedded direction into their language so deeply that every time they would describe where they were going, they would always say, like, we're going in the direction of this star in this direction, so
amazing.
all of their language had
that's really
incorporated
cool.
direction into it.
That is so.
And then they realized that this group of people had embedded in their DNA that was being passed epigenetically, being passed on from
What?
generation
Oh,
to
wow.
generation,
Really?
a greater sense of direction than any other humans had.
That's amazing.
Isn't that awesome?
Do you know
That
which,
is awesome.
They did mention which it
Yeah.
was, but I don't know from memory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Can I
it was
chime
in.
in?
Yeah.
I just had I wanted to chime in on your language process question about which one matters, outcome versus process, and just something that I was thinking was that with something like math, for example, it's the outcome matters a lot, but something when you have a shared process is now a shared language where people can collaborate. And same with the music markings and things that you were talking about, Nina, with your very intelligent musician friend. That's an amazing system for him that gets him the outcome that he wants, but it doesn't allow him to communicate that with other people. Also kind of connects to your sign language language that you invented, Michelle, in grade school, which I find very impressive, but
Yeah.
just a thought.
Yeah. That's true. He's got a very good point.
Yeah, no, he's spot on. And the thing that's so interesting about any form of communication is that it's the only way for us to express our mind. Right? So whether
Yeah.
you do that mathematically, whether you do that because you're great in front of a group and you have an amazing personality, which you do, and I can totally see why you would be incredible anytime you're talking to people. It's just different forms of our ability to
Right.
be able to express who we are uniquely, which is so powerful, right? But I think what you're saying, Oliver, is even expanding on that point to say that that we have to be able to find ways to share that, so that you have a commonality in the way that we can all see each other, even in our uniqueness.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Really, otherwise we fragment all over, and then it might even grow into more where we're judging others and we don't talk to others and we move farther away. And who knows what would happen? You're right. If we don't have something shared.
Yeah.
Language in the box might be related somehow. I mean, they're definitely, I can imagine that in your context, Rosa, with moving from one country, right? Maybe that's a sort of, I'm just seeing that as a theme, right? That being outside of the box is sometimes being outside of the accepted language on something.
Absolutely.
Yeah, what would we define as the box?
Right.
So we've all established that we think that we have been living outside of it. So what do we think the box is?
Everything that I'm not.
I was just thinking the same, something like,
Well, I was thinking, I don't know if I do live outside the box.
Yeah.
You know, it's sort of, again, I have some privileges and I live in this country and had a chance to go to college, found another way, but still, I don't know. I
that was the
feel-
outside the box. You just said it. I find the other way.
Well, maybe the box is,
Yeah.
maybe it's not finding enough of your own way. Yeah.
You find
You
another
feel
way.
like you need to stay in it, you need to belong, everyone should belong, but you belong in your own way.
Yes.
Wonder if
Maybe
it has-
someone else defines it for you.
Yeah, I wonder if
So you
that's-
stay in someone else's definition.
Right.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
kind of a bubble.
So everyone has
Right.
their own
You know,
box.
right? In a
The
bubble.
bubble.
And then that's where you stay, and that's the box you stay in. And if you don't fit in that bubble for whatever reason,
You will.
then you're outside of
The
the
box.
box.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, how can I still figure out a way to fit in with everybody who's inside here? And that's how it
Now, do we
works.
want to fit in though? Sometimes,
Do you want to fit in?
and all these people boxes that I don't connect to. That's how I see it.
Well, I mean, you have the second you walk through the door. Tell me if I'm wrong, Nina, but like the second you walk through the door, you are electric.
Yeah, you are.
You know what I mean? Like you
Your
are,
charisma.
your charisma is off the chart.
Oh my gosh.
So I would imagine that when you walk into a room, people want to gravitate towards your charisma, and you probably don't need to necessarily worry about whether you're fitting into other people's charisma very often.
That's true. That's true. Yes, absolutely.
But it's an interesting
Right.
experience, right?
Right.
I was curious for you. So when you came here, it was called adjusting, which could be terrible.
Absolutely.
Was there a point where you kept comparing home to here, like, oh, I really miss this? Or did you keep what you wanted and utilized it here somehow? I don't
Like
know.
how when did I feel
Like, sometimes they say, people learn a language when they start dreaming in the new
oh yeah,
language.
that's true. That's true.
So I'm wondering if there's some of the way that you were doing things, the way you're feeling about being here.
yeah. So
This is still 1 foot back home. I don't know.
yeah. So this is how I interpret what you just asked me. The first time I felt homesick when I was in Mexico, and I wanted to come back here. Took me a while, probably like 6 years. But I was going to Mexico like 3 times a year. I had to go every 2 months. But like when you say with the dream, that's totally true because when you dream now I'm bilingual in my dreams, but yes, that's totally true. But then I never forget the first time I was in Mexico and I was homesick from like
for
here.
here.
What were you
And I
missing?
remember I remember the first time, and I was like, I was homesick because I used to go to these long trips, I'm home Mexico, which Mexico is always going to be my home. But I've been in Newburyport for so long now, and I was like, I miss, I want to be in Newburyport, my bed, and I remember being like, whoa, what did I just say? Like, I can't wait to go home. I was like, I'm home.
Yeah.
So yeah, it took me quite some time, but it happens just like the dreams when you speak another language. You just find yourself belonging, being in this place for so long, and I felt like, okay, Newburyport's home now. Yeah.
One of the things, so we've done 12 practice episodes to get to this point, but tonight is what we would consider the beginning of what this podcast will be, which is a more season. So we'll have 18 themes that fall into a season, and this is episode 1, right? Woo. But one of the things that came out of the first 12 that we did that was like unbelievably consistent is that you can tell that humans, one of the things that's so amazing about us in general is that we get good at anything that we practice.
Oh, yeah.
But it also opens up this really interesting conversation about like, does it mean that we also just become anything that we do? So if you grow up in Mexico and you feel so culturally embedded in what that is and what it feels like, and then you come to Newburyport and it just takes a certain amount of time to all of a sudden feel culturally connected to Newburyport. Yeah. Isn't that wild?
It is.
Isn't that wild that nothing stays permanently imprinted on us? That we're clearly built to adapt.
Correct.
And yet we live in a world that is trying to tell us to not adapt to anything, to not change our mind.
Yeah.
That we should be locked into one idea and that's the idea that we stay with. Isn't that wild?
Yeah, and even myself, I grew up in Albuquerque and then I lived in Los Alamos for a long time. And when I first moved here and I'd say, I'm from New Mexico, only people heard Mexico. And they'd say, you don't even have an accent.
Oh,
or
my
do they use the
gosh,
same,
yeah.
currency? And I'm like, well, the dollar is a dollar. It's the same. Did you go to school?
My God.
But the culture and the way in the Southwest
Yeah.
versus here is like 2 different places.
Totally different.
Yeah.
You know, even though the town in Los Alamos is like the same size as Newburyport.
Wow.
It was so culturally, it was so
Different,
different, you know, and and just the way that you tend to be, I don't know, maybe more timid. Because when I first came here in New Mexico, a regular coffee is black. And when I came here and I ordered a regular coffee at Dunkin' Donuts, and they gave it to me with cream and sugar. And I said, excuse me, I ordered, regular. And she said, that's regular. You ordered regular. You got regular. Drink your coffee.
That's a great Dunkin' Donuts voice, too.
And I got really
Excellent
scared, and I was even afraid to throw it away there. I drove away, and I threw it away somewhere because I thought she was going to yell at me. But that's what I mean. It was so, nobody would have would have ever said that to me. They would have said, "Oh, I'm sorry. What did you think regular was?"
Right,
That's what
right,
they would have
right.
said. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they would have given me a black coffee.
Yeah.
You know, and she was just like,
Oh no.
"Are you stupid?" So it's just that culture, even within our own country. So I can imagine
Yeah.
what it was like for you.
And how about the food? Because you guys have good food over
We have
there
really
too. And
good food
here,
in
yeah,
Mexico.
here.
So what would you say about the food around here? What would you?
Well, back when I moved here, I could never. Food was terrible, Mexican. So I was making my own food at home, but the ingredients, it was so hard.
Yeah.
Like I always tell this to my students when they come to my cooking class. Like I used to drive to Chelsea, Rosendale, and I had 3 places in Rivera to get ingredients to make my own chorizo, my own queso fresco, my own things, and to make tamales, you know. Now we're actually so diverse, like Market Basket, you can find cotija cheese, Chihuahua cheese in Stop and Shop. You can buy corn husk in Stop and Shop in Amesbury. You can buy crema in Seabrook and Walmart. You can buy Maseca now in Market Basket in Newburyport. They just brought it out. Oh, and hibiscus flowers they have in Newburyport. I just found it 2 weeks ago. I always like to shop around because when I teach a cooking class, I always go to find ingredients locally so they can recreate it at home. That's my motto. I'm not gonna teach you a class. You're gonna come to my class. I'm like, oh, Rosa, I can't find this crazy ingredient. So we are so diverse, and it's so crazy. I get so excited when I see something new. I mean, I buy my products for the restaurant, and in those with my supplier, where I can get anything I want, pretty much.
Yeah.
But we have so much access, so many access to really ingredients to cook whatever we want, pretty much, and good food, good Mexican food.
Do you ever use hatch chili?
Yes.
Hatch green chili.
But
is
that's
the
but no,
best.
that's like
That's like
that's
the
the
best.
best. Yeah,
It's the best.
that's
Yeah, 'cause-
very New Mexico. Yeah,
because
I
in
love
Mexico,
it.
you can buy the green chili and they roast
Yeah.
them outside of the grocery
Yes,
store. Oh, the
yes.
smell is
I
just
love that.
amazing. And my nephew and his wife came here a few years ago, and we were at the grocery store. We were at Market Basket. And there were some lobsters, and I said, "Oh, do you want to have lobster for dinner?" They're like, "Oh yeah, that'd be great." And I said, "Well, I'm just gonna have them cook them here because
Yeah,
I don't want to do it
seriously.
at home." And they're like, "Oh my gosh, they cook them here!"
I
and I
love
said,
that.
"It's the same thing as
Like a
roasting green
chili
chili
outside.
outside the grocery store."
That is so
Yeah.
cool. That's
Yeah,
true.
but it's so different. Yeah.
I got in New Mexico. A friend lives there. It was the same thing. I was shocked. You just drive into the parking lot, and there's all these families around these little fires roasting their own peppers. I'm thinking, imagine having a fire at like the market.
Oh no, ain't having
like
it.
40 of them. Yeah, it was amazing.
That
How
is so
fresh and
cool.
delicious.
Yeah.
Food is, I think, under talked about for how amazing of a cultural bond, right? Because I grew up in a very bland food household, and then when you go, I know, I don't, I know,
I
I
swear
do
to God.
too, to be honest.
I feel so.
And then I unfortunately kind of raised my sons in probably a very bland food household. But the having somebody who knows how to make food joyful, and then how to make sure that a family comes around a table and the joy is being able to not only eat something that is
Yes.
delicious, which anybody, I think you'd have to agree, there's not a lot of pleasures in life that are better than a great taste, like a great bite of food.
Right.
Like I make baklava, and I'll make it, and I'll let my clients know I have baklava here.
I love
and they'll
it.
come
Yeah,
by
connect.
and
Yeah,
get,
yeah,
and get
yeah.
it. Or if I know that they like it, I'll make a trip
love
or
it.
something, And it's just
It's a way to
cooking
connect
for the
with people,
boys,
yeah.
just the baseball boys. It's the same thing.
Oh yeah.
Because I grew up. We're Greek. We had restaurants. So I grew up with food.
Yeah.
and that's how you show your love. That's how
Yes,
you
that's
show,
exactly. That's how you
right?
connect with people. And same with the baseball. My son is like, "Mom, are you gonna bring the food empanadas?" The team, I'm like, yeah, and everybody's so excited. But yeah, it's the way that you connect with people, and it's amazing. And also brings a lot of people from different backgrounds together. I see that all the time when they're sitting at my table, classes, people that grow up like you, or people that never cook, and it's amazing. And I love it when we make a dish, and they make the dish. I just tell them how to do it, and then they're like, "Oh my God, I made this!" And it's so amazing. It opens up so many different things to them. The other day too, I love the cooking classes. Oh, I love to cook. I love the restaurant, but the cooking classes are my favorite. And I'm going to tell you why. So I was walking to the tannery, and there's a kid running around. He's like, "Are you Rosita?" And I'm like, "Yay." He's like, "My mom went to a cooking class with you." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah? What we made?" enchiladas. And then I stop and I look down and I said, she making those for you? He's like, yes, I love them. And I'm like, oh my God. It made my day because maybe he's growing up in a household like you. The mom doesn't know how to cook. And here I am teaching her how to make green enchiladas, to making using tomatillos that probably she never used. And now this little kid who's running along beside me is like, yeah,
That's so
they're
cool.
the best.
That's nice.
That's my goal. And I love that. So
that's
yeah,
cool. That's
I
very
love
cool.
Well, food is a really wonderful way to express love, though, because
Yes.
you could grow up in a household that has very little resources.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
And you could grow up in a bland food household with
Yes.
very few resources, but you could also grow up in a household that had few resources, but they found the way to bring that love into taste. And what a wonderful,
I
you know what I mean?
know.
Like,
Yeah,
so
that was
there, it
me.
is kind of an equality of opportunity
Right.
for all people that food ends up being this thing that you can make interesting and express love through in a way that's very difficult to do in almost any other way that doesn't have to do with resources.
Right, absolutely.
You know, food is a resource, obviously. I don't mean to diminish that. And I
Yeah.
know that it's the most important one. But to make food delicious is art.
Another collaboration I did with cooking classes is Cider Hill and Amesbury. A couple years ago, I did a collaboration and we did cooking classes with children. And Monty is a little girl with autism. And so she was kind of funny about doing, but then she was making empanadas. Then her mom reached out to me and she said, Rosa, you have no idea what you did to me. Monty's had always this weird thing about food, and she was in the food service business. And she goes like, since 2020, I struggled for her to eat and focus. She loved it so much. And I asked permission. I said, I posted it on social media. I said, may I post it? Like, this is amazing. And I did. And then she came to all my cooking classes. And it's so cool because, and then I was like, oh my God, here I am. I'm not only how to teach how to cook to even children. Like, it's a connection that they found. Maybe Monty would never found. Her mom tried, but maybe because I'm a different person and it was different dynamic that she's now eating homemade food. Like, I guess she was never since she was like little. She was only eating like crap food, like McDonald's and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And her mom was like trying to cook from home, like scratch, and she could never until she attended my cooking
that's pretty
classes.
cool.
That's pretty amazing.
yeah,
That was
that
pretty
is cool.
awesome.
Well, it's amazing how inspiration works.
Huh?
You know,
Yes,
like
absolutely. Yeah.
somebody that just brings it to you from another angle, and then all of a sudden it opens up this desires that you didn't even
Right.
know you had. And
Yeah, I
one
know.
one of the things that we're exploring all the time, both in the adult education training that we do, but also the form of training that we're trying to develop, is that we have a really strong belief that you can't learn anything that you aren't interested in. And that the fastest way to interest is fun.
Yeah.
So it's really imperative, like in that you think of things with, if you want to maximize what somebody can get out of the other end of it, maximizing your intention for fun from the very beginning is a really great way to do that. Not everything can be fun all the time.
Yeah.
But
Right.
but thinking of things as a game, I think, is a really important way to do it. Or being able to create a cooking class where normally it's like cooking could feel like a burden depending on who's doing it or
Right.
how they're doing it. But if you're around somebody who's like joyful
Excited.
while they're
Yeah,
cooking
yeah,
and they're
like,
making it feel like an expression of art, like watching somebody paint on a canvas or do
Right.
something,
Yeah.
you know, then all of a sudden it could really change the way that you
Everything.
feel about what that is and change your whole life. Your whole life can be
Absolutely.
changed from something like that. It's
Yeah.
really,
It's pretty cool.
it's very
Yeah.
generous.
Yeah, that is cool.
And even
Yeah.
just exposure to having never had it, just that alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking about the fun is like animals, we love to play. Like
Yes.
really play is where we are. So sometimes you think we're making separations between everybody.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's our competitive games here, but just simple play is just
Right.
something we all love to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we
So
lose it as we get
interesting.
older. You know, and I would even, I would make a guess that it's puberty that makes us lose it.
Oh, I know a lot of people play hockey and they're
Yeah.
70 or
Well, that I do think is true. Like, I
My
think
job
that, you know, I still,
Yeah.
you know, I play basketball 3 days a week. I love to play games. I love it. But there's a part of me that is lacking imagination in the way that I play in comparison to when I watch children.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a lightness to the way that kids can play without needing there to be an outcome to measure it.
They don't have to win.
Yeah, but sometimes they don't even know. I don't know. From when we were kids, we were out, until the lights got, until it
Yes,
got dark.
yeah.
And when my kids were really little, I was head secretary at their elementary school. And one day they asked me to go do playground duty. And all the kids are just like hanging out and they're not playing, they're not engaging, they're not anything.
Right,
And so I took some of the kids with me and I had the key to the PE room and I got a bunch of stuff and I got some sixth graders and I was showing them how to do double Dutch and I used to wear really high heels and I took them off and I lifted up my dress and I was doing double Dutch and the kids over here were doing something else and I was showing this. And then before I knew it, the kids were saying, "Can you come out next recess?" And I was thinking, they just need to have that somebody
Right,
show them
right.
or someone show an interest
Yeah.
maybe in engaging
Drag
with them. I don't know.
Yeah, it might be lighter than that. It might even be deeper than that. It might be that we need to remember as adults that we should not stop having fun.
Yeah.
Right.
Because that's a lot of, I hope what comes out of the unscripted room and the direction that we go, I hope that it ends up having a lot of conversations about parenting because from my perspective, it looks like if we wanted to do something to really have the largest impact on the future of the world, it's going to happen through the prosperity of children.
Yeah.
And the quickest way to get to the prosperity of children is to take parenting extremely seriously and to put that at the highest state of what we should be thinking about as far as what we get good at. But the thing that has become universal for anybody that I've talked to about parenting in general is that if you want to be a really great parent, what you have to do is you have to figure out how to become the best version of yourself and then just tell them how you did it.
Yeah.
So, and that journey for me really started making me understand, okay, if I want to be able to trust someone, the fastest way for me to be able to learn how to do that is to become extremely trustworthy. Because once I do that, I'll know everything that there is that you have to unravel to be able to become trustworthy. And then if they don't have any of those behaviors, then I'll know that they're probably not someone that I want to trust.
Right.
But until you do that, you have so many blind spots to what you should and should not trust that you are very ignorant to the, the gap in between those two places. Fun might be one of those things that we have to examine in the same way. If we lose our zest for making life feel like every moment is an opportunity, let's go have an amazing time. How do we do the best thing that we can right now? How could we possibly expect young kids to,
That's true.
and kids don't know how to be bored.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's probably a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think because they have everything at their fingertips.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do that. I think that boredom is when you come up with ideas for games.
Yeah.
It's like then you're like, well, let's do this or a chore. I don't think
Right.
kids are doing as many chores. When you do chores, you were messing around with your siblings, or something came up, or you figured a better way to do it, or so I feel like things are too. I feel like convenience has kind of really dampened a lot of experiences. You know.
It might be though that like kids are just a reflection of adults, because I hear adults. Thanks. So that's our 1 hour. If you can believe
wow.
it, we just hit 1 hour.
wow.
So we'll get into the second question in a second. But the one thing I think about kids, whenever you talk to an adult about technology right now, they'll always be like, man, the kids are on the technology too much. And then you're like, but you're looking at your phone, right? As you say that to me,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So adults are as equally addicted to all of these things as the kids. So at some point, we all have to look at each other and be like, we should have set the example. And then the kids will follow us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if we don't set the example across the board for everything, it's amazing how all of us, I guarantee all of us had an adult in our life that said, do as I say, not as I do.
Oh, yeah.
How crazy is that?
I know.
If we marked the one thing that we want to avoid is hypocrisy, that hypocrisy is the ultimate thing that breaks up relationships rather than builds it.
Absolutely.
What is more, what has a higher level of hypocrisy than do as I say, not as I do?
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
All I can think of is like the parent's a parent. It's like you're an adult, but yeah, it depends. I was taking this, I sat in the technology thing, and the guy said, yeah, if you want your kids to put the phone away at the end of the day, he says, you all charge your phones. There's one charger outside the kitchen or wherever, so you're all not on your phone, which is exactly what you're saying.
yeah.
The parents follows suit too.
Yeah, some say
Yeah.
put it in a box,
Yeah.
And we're
when
not
they're
going to be able to
having
get
dinner or
I'm
rid
not that
of the
disciplined.
phones.
Yeah.
Yeah, the phones are tricky because you're going to have to use them, but it's like, can we all just not think that they're as important as we
For
think
5
that they
minutes,
are?
yeah.
Because they are as addictive as a drug.
Right.
You know what I mean? And the more you look at it, the more you want to look at it. More like it's very tricky to get
Yeah.
off of these things once you get started.
Because my granddaughters, when they'll tell me, yeah, we love coming to dinner at your house. And I said, why is that, Mija? And she'll say, oh, it's because we play games and we talk at the table and we, and probably if they lived with me, we probably would be as cool as we are with each other. Or, as in, engaged
be a
as we
different-
are,
yeah.
But they still come sometimes too, and they'll just all be, on their phones as well. But when we're sitting at the table or we're playing a game afterwards, it's just, let's just do this. So that's, I think, sometimes it makes it nice.
Yeah, being able to feel each other is huge.
Yeah,
Did you say what's up, mija?
I did.
Like mija?
Yeah.
Like Spanish mija?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I love that.
So, I'm a yaya and
Yeah,
I'm
I
a
was
mija.
gonna say, yeah. You're like, hey, what's up, mija? I was
Yeah,
like,
I
wait a
know.
minute, mija is like my daughter.
daughter.
Yeah, but it's like a.
It's a loving, endearing.
Yeah,
endearing.
it's not a slang, but it's like
it's
yeah,
like
but it's
mija,
mija.
mijo.
My
Yeah.
mom just so mija. Oh, I haven't
So
heard that in a long time. Thank you.
And sometimes I'll do that with the people that work with me. And one of this gal that used to work for me, I'd say, oh, mija,
Mijo,
here.
oh, mijo.
And then I'd say, mira. And mira means
Oh
look.
yeah.
And so
I love it.
she went home. She told me that she went home and she told her mother, and she was an adult woman. She told her mother, oh, my boss has the nicest thing that she tells me. And she said, what is that? She said, she calls me mira. She goes, no, that means look. And she goes, oh, it was mija. She calls me mija.
I love
Because I
it.
say both.
Oh, that's awesome. I haven't heard that in a while.
So how do we feel about moving into the second question?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Do you
Bring it on?
do you feel comfortable reading it, or
Well,
do
I
you?
can look and see if I can see it, if I can read it. I just don't know how big the writing is.
It's pretty big, but we slide it over to one of us and we can read it for you if
Yes.
it's.
Okay, I can read it. How has your unique path shaped your mindset?
Shape my mindset.
I was almost thinking it could go the other way around too. How's your mindset create your unique path?
Yeah,
Let's explore it from either
that's
direction.
true. That's
interesting.
true.
You want to think about it that way? Let's.
Probably.
How would you define your mindset, Nina? Like what? Because that would give us an idea of how it started to create your path.
Again, everything's curious to me. So if everything's curious, everything's an experience. So there are some bad things, but you can look at those and go, wow, well, that was interesting. Now I know how that works.
Have you felt that way since you were a child?
No, but that thing, I grew up kind of not in their developments. Like, I kind of looked at all the kids that could just go outside their house and be 30 kids, and they were playing baseball, and we were way away. The load bus didn't come to our house, so we were kind of a little away from everybody. So I think that already made you not in the mix. So if every job's okay, you don't have a feeling of the self-worth thing, because
Yeah.
you could do almost any job and it's going to be interesting. So, if you do this job that someone might think is not as important as this, it doesn't matter to you because you think it's interesting.
Yeah.
So maybe that's something. I don't know.
I'm so appreciative of the way you're describing that, because I think the point of this podcast is to make a case for curiosity. And I can't imagine somebody making a stronger case for curiosity than what you're saying right now, which is that like
awesome.
whatever you do, just be curious about it. Figure out what you can learn from it. Figure out how you can put yourself in the mindset of being, this is an opportunity. Everything's an opportunity. And it sounds like that's what you do.
Yes.
That is quite literally the mindset that we're trying to help people build, is the mindset that you're describing. Thank you.
Well, there are other paths where people want to go A to B to Z, so that's another way. They have a
That's
different,
true.
clearer way to see
That's
things.
Oh my
so
gosh,
that's
that's
also
true.
good.
Yeah.
Same way.
yeah. Not everybody wants to hop around.
There's no bad way to have a mindset,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So,
No, especially
think-
if it's the way you work.
Yeah. And I
Well,
think
maybe that's
for
not
me,
true. There
it's
might
like
be a bad
risk,
way to have a
taking
mindset.
risk, because
Yes.
I'm not afraid to take risk.
yeah.
Oh, I love that.
And, I think that has just, built my uniqueness because I'm not afraid to take it, or I'll figure out a way to make it happen. If like a lot of bad things are happening at the same time, I'll try to figure out that path or help other people in my
Absolutely.
family or my business try to find that path of how to get out of it or make it better for them.
Is
you
it
know?
because you're focused on the reward?
I don't know. I think for when I was younger, it was always if they say I can't do it, I'm going to prove them wrong.
Oh my
And
God,
I
I'm
think
the
that was
same
probably when I was
way.
growing up and feeling not,
Oh my gosh.
smart enough. Like I'll show them.
Yeah.
And then as I became older, then it was like I want to show myself that I
Yeah.
can do it.
Yeah.
And and I always tell my kids, no one escapes life without things happening to them, good
Yeah.
and bad. It's how you come out at the end that sets your character.
Absolutely.
So have integrity and have that good character. And no matter what happens, you're still going to be good. And when something's bad happening for them, too, I always tell them, this is a moment in time. This is not your life.
That's right.
It's just a moment in time. And so sometimes I have to remind myself that too. But yeah, so I think that's what I.
Me growing up in Mexico, I mean, we all try to survive. So I feel like some of my family members have the mindset of like, always someone is going to attack you. And it's horrible to see it. And I always feel like I was different than them because my mindset was different. I was just like you, like I wanted to prove, okay, no, this is positive. I'm always like, no, this is going to go way positive, or we're going to make it work. No one's going to come after you. And somehow my life and my path has gone better. And I want to describe better like I'm happy, I'm content, I feel proud of myself. And I keep doing, my mindset, if something comes at me, I have to be, okay, Rosa, make the best out of it or get out of here towards a positive path. And I feel like I succeed so far. And it can be my worst enemy too. Like when I'm like, oh, I'm going to prove wrong. Then you get so obsessive with the idea that you're just going to prove. And then it's like, okay, it's not the best thing. Okay, I fail.
Yeah.
And then I accept. But yeah, the mindset of a lot of people I seen, and I grew up and I see it in siblings and my mom, and I still see it. And I'm like, why? Like we grew up in the same environment, in the same household, under the same roof, and we shift mindsets and path different ways.
Yep.
And sometimes it's a disconnection, and it makes me sad sometimes. Like, I'm like, oh my God, I want to show them like, hey, this is, but I don't know what it is.
Did they have to deal with violence that you didn't have to deal with? Was there something that happened to them that was the driver of that feeling?
I saw a lot of bad stuff. I dealt with a lot of abuse, neglect, and some of my siblings saw a lot of things. I was in the middle, so my youngest didn't see much, and me, I feel like I saw both ways, and I don't know, like I'm gonna bring it up. Like I lost a sister to a suicide. We were only 2 years apart, and I see her, and I'm like, I would never do that. I saw a lot of stuff that she saw. We were next to each other, but her mindset was different. The way that she was wired. We talked earlier about how we all wire and how we took things is different. So I don't know why I took the path that I took. Oh, I had the mindset. If we all grew up in the same environment, we saw a lot of things. I mean, I hope she didn't went through. Sometimes I think back and I'm like, I went through a lot of abuse, like physically, everything like you can possible think. It's horrible. I had a horrible childhood. My sister did too. But then sometimes I think it's like, maybe she had it worse. That's why she took the path that she wanted to take. But at the same time, I'm like, I wouldn't have done that, in a way. So I don't have that, like, I always ask those questions when I, like, grown up and how we took different paths, how we had different mindsets after everything we went through. And, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to ever.
First of all, thank you for sharing. And I'm really sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
When you were a young girl, do you remember having a moment where you had a moment of self-awareness where you thought, okay, I'm seeing something that I don't like and is not what I want, and so I'm going to make the opposite choice of this?
Yeah, I remember, my dad died when I was 8 years old too. I was really young, and I just sat in the street and I saw my neighbors, and yeah, I loved, like, I was outside playing with them and stuff, but I just saw something. I was like, I'm not gonna end up like this. And I remember exactly when I was really young. I was probably 9, 10. I said, I'm not gonna end up like here, like them. And I'm not saying anything bad. I love them, and I'm so grateful. They were my neighbors and stuff, but I just saw it, and I'm like, I'm not gonna end up here. And it's so sad because so my sister passed 2 years ago, and then my neighbor who we grew up, and it was my sister's same age. She just passed last week, and because they were sick and they have no resources. So the mom, who was my neighbor growing up, reached out to me, and they literally had no money to cremate and stuff. So me and my sister sent some money, and she was like, "Oh my God, thank you very much, Rosa. We would not been able to do this without your help." And then a friend told me, like, "Rosa, why are you doing that? You grew up in the same next to that person. She couldn't get now." And I'm like, me and my sister were like, no, because her mindset was different. My mindset was different. Maybe she didn't have the courage or the strength or the ability or the charisma or I'm lucky that I have all these like features, that I was like, I'm strong. Maybe she wasn't strong enough, just like my sister, maybe, they don't, we can't compare it just because I got out and they didn't. I was always going to ask myself why they didn't have the courage, but I think we just wired differently. And I remember the exact moment when I sat there in the street and I'm like, I'm not going to end up here like them.
It's so, thank
Yeah.
you. That was like a really beautiful to be able to see and experience, and I really appreciate you sharing. And it's also, I think, really going to be encouraging to people who have moments where they realize that just one moment can change your whole life. That you can see something and you can recognize, and
Right.
as long as you can be present in that moment
Yeah.
to be able to make a decision for yourself, that's what self-awareness really is that
Right.
it's like, ooh, I'm in charge of the next
Right.
choice. And I might have to go through a lot of different things to be
Right.
able to get to where I want to be, but those can still be your choices. They're just gonna, it's gonna be a unique path.
No one asked me that question before. Thank you. That's so funny because I think back and no one actually asked me that question. But I think back and I'm like, wow, I did it. This is how I see it.
Yeah.
Like I did it. I got out of there. Like,
Yeah.
so thank you.
Oh my God! Like what
I know,
an
yeah.
incredible story to have been able to do that. And I think maybe more people need to be able to hear that story, that it's possible.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah.
Yeah. I have 2 older and 2 younger, and I'm
Yeah.
the middle.
Oh my gosh.
And I was a caretaker of our family.
Yeah.
So always having to take care of even the finances and stuff like that.
Wow.
And so that whole mindset of that I'm not going to be that, and I know that whenever something would happen and I don't know, I was written in something or I presented at an international thing or whatever it was. I was invited to Presidente Fox's.
Oh wow.
To Martha Fox.
Oh my God.
To
Yeah.
Mexico to meet with
Impressive.
her.
Oh my
And
gosh.
So anyway, anytime something like that would happen, I'd always write my mommy a note and a sticky note. I'd give her whatever the article it was, and I'd always put "not bad for a little girl from New Mexico."
Aw.
So see, that still was that feeling,
Right, you
Even
still
though
have that
that
feeling.
happened to me, and I was invited to these things, I was presenting internationally. I still felt like this little girl from New Mexico. So it's funny how but it's funny how you have that mindset
Yeah.
still with you, even though
Yeah.
you are accomplishing the things that you're working so hard for. That still stays with you.
Yeah.
It's funny.
I just keep thinking of perception, the perception that people have of
Yeah.
you had a different perception than somebody else, how they perceive what's going around them. And just listen to everybody. It sounds like you're problem solvers. There's a problem, you're going to solve it, and maybe not fall into it or fall to the fear of it, which is kind of interesting. You said you're going to find your way through it. You thought, I'm not going to fall into that. I'm going to find my way this way.
Yeah.
So, what is that drive that'll want us to do better or seek
Yes.
something different? It's kind of a curious
That's true.
thing. And I think there's a lot of chatter that make people fearful. So it's easy to be fearful. So you kind of thought those kind of things that you even saw around you.
Yeah.
Pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
And I definitely didn't want my kids to go through that. Yeah. I was like, no, not a chance. So.
I don't know if you've all experienced trauma the same way, and I wouldn't say that the trauma that I've experienced could ever be compared to what you just described, right? But everybody does go through something that ends up being traumatic to them. And the thing that's so tricky about trauma is that once you go through it, it's very difficult to understand inside yourself, is there now something broken in me? Or am I perfect and this thing now is standing in the way of me being able to realize my own perfection? And I'm not sure that that's not the difference between people who get out and the people who end up getting stuck, is that if they feel like there's something that gets broken with them in that trauma, that they're feeling like, oh, there's no recovering from this. This is something that now my identity will forever be trapped in this idea, versus the idea that, no, I was born a perfect person. We're all born perfect people. And I had to deal with something that is going to make it harder for me to be able to get back to that sense of balance and that sense of purity within myself. So fucking tricky.
Yeah. It is.
So tricky, right? Because
Yeah.
you can go through so much of your life feeling like there's no way to be able to get back from that. But really, getting back from that requires this one extremely difficult tool to use when you're dealing in trauma, which is gratitude.
Absolutely.
Right? Because it is the opposite tool that you think you should use when you're in the middle of something terrible. But that gratitude for your own life and for your own potential and for your own opportunities is really the only thing that gives you the hope and the resilience and the drive to be able to figure out what's next.
Right.
Leave me one little gap and I'll fucking get through it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
I can see that light. I can see
Yeah,
that light.
exactly.
It might take me a while, but
exactly.
I can see that
You
light.
might have me for now,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
only until you leave me the opening, and then I'm fucking
I'm
out of
Outta
here.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's one of the things that I'm really, really fascinated with, and I'm so appreciative that you're here and that we're having this conversation and that we're doing it in the way that we are, is that I think we all need to work together to figure out how we realize that the difference between getting stuck somewhere and getting out of it has everything to do with having the right information at the right time. You know what I mean? Having the ability to be able to understand perspective outside of the limited window of whatever it is that you're doing. And that's a conversation that's complicated if you're talking about from an adult's perspective. It's very, very complicated when you're talking about it from the perspective of a child, because children have no choice.
Yeah.
They don't ask to be in that situation. They
Right.
are forced to be in that situation. And then they're having people who are making choices for them. In my mind, everything that we look at in the world right now should be put through one prism, which is, are we making children safe?
Yeah.
And every time somebody wants me to take a side, be on this side, be on that side, I'm like, are either of those sides making sure that no children are at risk? Well, then you're all full of shit.
Yeah.
You know what I
No,
mean?
it's true.
Because
Yeah.
in the end, what else is there that we should be doing for humanity other than making sure that we're doing everything that we can to put kids in the best situation, because they are the most innocent of all of us, in a situation where they don't have to try to make choices without the context of better information to be able to make it. So glad that you had... I had a moment when I went through a very, very difficult divorce. And I had this moment, it was like I was living, I had an idea of what my life was. And then it changed very, very quickly. And I had this,
That's sad.
I had this moment right after I found out what was actually going on that I just couldn't handle it. You know, like just, I'd never felt feelings that hurt that bad. And it was like collapse on the ground and cry like you've never, you know, just out of control. And I'm sure everybody's gone through that. But I had this moment when it was happening. I think I even described this to you at one point. But I had this moment when it was going on where I felt like what I was dealing with was that I literally felt like my identity was dying. Like all of the things that I thought that I was, everything that I thought that people were going to perceive me as, everything that I wanted to identify about being a father, about being a husband, they were gone.
Yeah.
And I was never going to get that version of it back again. It was impossible. It was
Oh,
gone.
that's a terrible feeling.
But at the exact same time, I had this other feeling. I wouldn't even say it was a feeling. It was like a thought that seemed to come from somewhere that just kept saying, as soon as my one part of me would say, like, you're nothing, it's all lost, everything is gone, another part of me started saying, what's the difference between that and being closer than you've ever been to becoming whatever you want? What's the difference between the lowest point you've ever been and not having an identity to also being able to be the closest you've ever been to being able to rebuild yourself into anything that you want to become? Just never forgot that. Like, it always felt like that was something that maybe I hope that, because it felt like it almost came from like a shared consciousness kind of thing more than it was a thought that came from me. I hope that that's because that's a thought that's available to everyone. You know, that when you get to that lowest
Right.
spot, it's
Yeah.
also that opportunity to be able to figure out how do you then start to build towards your highest spot.
Yeah.
You know, how do you see that?
Really a lot of complexity in there, for sure, and that's a tough road to have to go through. It is the dark night of the soul. And for you to see, though, that lowest point made you start from zero and that you could build back that way. But I don't know what kind of support you had or that thing of confidence. Like, I always wonder what gives kids confidence. Like, you see some kids that are confident, or even adults. It's like, what is that nugget? It's someone believed in them at one point, maybe, or someone told you something really great about you that you never forgot, maybe when you were 10 years old, or I don't know what might help you or someone survive that, because the other side, some people don't, you know. And you also mentioned that unbreakability, that breakable, who you broke who you are. But we can talk about it further. You just not going to say something.
No, I think that, you know, everybody, you know, even if you've gone through a divorce or you've gone through anything, you understand what a death of an identity is. And I don't think that anybody survives a life without their identity dying multiple times. I know for me personally, I've gone through at least what I would consider for sure 2 deaths of my identity, and maybe even a third. But nobody teaches us those basic skills of the idea that this is something that you're going to go through, that we're going to go through a series of deaths and rebirths, and that is part of the process, and that the beauty of that is that who you become on the other end of that is your opportunity.
That's what I was saying earlier about nobody escapes that. It's how
Right,
you come out at the
right.
end.
Exactly.
Because I was married for 25 years and then got divorced. And, you know, that's, you know, just so difficult, like you were saying, to go through, and then you question everything, and should I, woulda, coulda, you know, all of those things. And so you lose that identity of who you were. You know, you're still a mother, but you're not that family unit. Because I remember my daughter saying, I'm never going to have a family. I'll have a brother, a mother, and a father. But I'll never, and that broke me. That really broke me when she said that. But you know, in her mind at that point in time, that's how she felt.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I mentioned to you that my fiance passed away. He had a brain aneurysm. So there again, you know, I had this whole next, you know, level of having to basically start again.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, sometimes it's so overwhelming because you have all of those businesses I was trying to help close down, and, you know, and then my mother passed 3 weeks later. There was just like a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And this one lawyer who was helping me get through all his business things, he told me, what can you do today? That's all you can do. What can you do today?
That's
Concentrate on that and move forward. And it's always just moving forward. But you have to let yourself process it too.
Absolutely,
And,
yeah.
you know, grieving a marriage is like grieving a death.
Absolutely,
You know, so
yeah.
you have to let yourself process that. And a therapist told me one time, because what I would do is I would like let myself, because I just moved here. I didn't know anybody. I was running an international company.
Oh my gosh.
I couldn't talk to anybody. I couldn't tell anybody that I worked with what I was going through. So what I would do is like on a Friday, I'd say, okay, I'm going to let myself have the whole weekend, or I'm going to let myself have a day, and I would cry as much as I wanted. I would watch whatever movies I wanted. I would have whatever I wanted to eat, whatever it was. But then on that next day, I'd get up, I'd get out of the house, and she said that was a very, amazing coping mechanism that you did. You allowed yourself to grieve, but you didn't let yourself go down that path. And I didn't realize that. That just worked for me.
Yeah.
I do
But-
the same.
Yeah?
Yeah, I do the same right now. Yeah, I do it. Sometimes I'm like, great, and then I take a whole day off and I'm like, okay, this is me, or a couple hours sometimes. But yeah, I do that. That's amazing because
Yeah.
that's my way to. And I'm like, okay, Rosa, tomorrow, mentally, I prepare
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, okay, tomorrow you're going to get up, you're going to have a
You're gonna pick
and
yourself
like,
up by your
and like nothing
bootstraps and you're
happened.
going,
Yes.
yeah.
And it's like, I wake up the next day and I'm like, 5 in the morning, like, nothing happened.
Yeah.
Hey, what's going on?
I do
Yeah,
the
I
same
do that.
thing. Yeah.
You know what it feels like? The skill that we have to learn how to develop for each other is to figure out how to offer the empathy to truly validate each other for having been victimized in this world. Because nobody goes through this world that has not experienced being victimized by something or someone. And my experience is even the people that I feel like I've been victimized by, those most often are hurt people who needed to hurt me to be able to satisfy something in themselves, right? So there's even a logical way that you can see that through. But on the other end of that, it's like we have to figure out how we can love each other for having been victimized and validate what that is without allowing each other to stay with a mindset of being a victim. Because I've never met anybody whose life got better who stayed feeling like they were the victim of something.
Right.
You know what I mean? You have to move past it because when you get stuck, it's not just that you don't want that person to be stuck there. It's not just like, this is inconvenient for you, it's inconvenient for me, let's try to get past this. It's like, no, you can't get stuck
Yeah.
there. You can't.
Yeah.
You'll waste your whole life.
Right.
Your whole life will be gone if you decide that you're going to create an identity around being the victim of this thing.
Yeah.
You need to create the identity around being the hero of your own journey, that you were able to overcome this thing. You were able to move past that. You were able to go to that next place. I don't think that there's a ton of solid mechanisms out there for people to be able to reach onto, or if there is, which I've done as much therapy as anybody I know. And I love therapy. I think it's an excellent way for people to be able to, first and foremost, be able to learn how to express vulnerability.
Absolutely.
But it's expensive
Yeah.
and it's not accessible to everybody. And it's, so we've got to continue to just feel like, how can we get that from our friends, from our neighbors? How can vulnerable conversation not be something that is a transactional money exchange, but
Right.
instead something that you can sit around the table with people that you don't even know, and we can have a level of vulnerability between the four of us that is probably rare with our best friends.
Yeah. And I think, again, it's just kind of back to that. It's a moment in time. It's not defining your life.
Right.
Like you had that moment in time, but it didn't define your life. Look at who
Okay,
you are and how
yeah.
you are now. I mean, so it's just, it's how, it's perception. You mentioned perception. It is. It's how you perceive things, how you take it in,
Yeah.
how you process. But I think the people that are always feel like they're a victim, because we do get victimized, we
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
They're the ones who can't move forward.
Yeah, I know.
Right.
Because they can't see the light. They can't see the happiness, the goodness,
Yeah.
and they can't feel it.
No.
And sometimes I know it's mental, and they have other issues, different things too. But
But yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we're in such a judging world that you feel you're going to be judged, and people do judge.
Absolutely.
And I felt when you said, you felt like that brokenness would never get fixed.
Yeah.
That you would be judged that way, and I kind of feel like the siblings, maybe it's more boys, that get pulled in by another sibling to do some act on their behalf or to be part of this thing that maybe they never wanted to do, but their perception was that I need to do this, so my brother loves me, or I'm perceived as this in the community, and they do things, and then we judge them, and I feel like forgiveness is a huge thing. To
Yeah.
forgive them
Yes.
that you made a mistake, You know, it was a mistake. Like, I feel like now, all the dumb things out of play that maybe our grandparents did was amazing, because now we have so many cameras around.
Yeah.
You'd be picked up for stuff.
Yes,
But they were just
absolutely.
innocently
Oh my
playing,
God.
you know, or trying things out, or. But it is hard in a community. I think it's hard in a community. Yeah.
We talked about this earlier, Nina, but I think part of the challenge that we have in front of us, and I think that we're doing a great job around this table, I feel really great about this, which is that whether it's our nurture or our nature, and I would argue that it's
Yes.
both, it is so deeply ingrained in me. I'll just speak from my perspective. It's so deeply ingrained in me to want to be right. Every time something comes up, I'm constantly trying to figure out the angle in which I can present myself to be right. And the thing about being right that's so complicated is that the only way for me to be right is that I have to find someone to be wrong. Because otherwise, how could I possibly justify my
Right.
righteousness?
Oh, wow.
It's a requirement, right? And as soon as I started to understand that more clearly, it made a lot more sense to me that what I really need to do is start building relationships based on how can we communicate a shared outcome?
Oh, yeah.
How can we communicate something that is in both of our best interest? And that for us to do that, we've got to be able to look at each other's perspectives and be like, okay, I've got to genuinely care about what is in your best interest, because it won't be in my best interest unless it's in yours, right? Because you won't want something good to happen for me unless I have already been able to express how I want something good to happen for you.
Right.
It's very complicated, but I think the fundamental thing that we have to break is this ingrained desire to be right, because it is not what we think it is. But it's very complicated because we were raised in homes where there was no version of parenting where your parents didn't make sure that it was they were right, and that you were just trying to figure out, based on all of the other evidence that you're collecting from the world, are they? Or am I watching something that is not right, and now I have to figure out how to come up with my own version of what right is? But that is a very tall task to ask a child to do on their own. How do we create more and more opportunities where people can see different versions of stuff? I always think for this, I don't know if this will be culturally relevant for Mexico, but when I was younger, there was Mr. Rogers. And the way that I remember him was this like very calm, neighbor-like figure who just always had these very sort of like relaxing, gentle and generous sort of perspectives on the way that the world worked and the way that things. And I always remember watching that thinking, well, that probably had a really big effect for people who maybe were growing up in homes that were
Right.
extremely chaotic, and they didn't know that chaos wasn't
Normal.
Yeah,
they
normal.
because
It was their normal.
Right.
because that we all do that, right? We all get into environments and you have to normalize them. We might be doing it right, maybe not necessarily right now on this table, but we might be doing it right now in the world, that we might be normalizing stuff that if we
Something,
stepped
that's
back
true.
and we were just aliens looking at the earth and we're like, hold on, the same species sends
Right.
bombs from one place to another
Yeah.
over what? Like lines in the sand that they pretend is one country and another country?
Yeah.
Like, and they made up
Yes.
those countries?
Or
Those
road-
countries didn't
yeah,
even
road-
exist
road
250
rage.
years ago?
You know?
Wait a second. None of this was real 500 years ago, and now they're killing each other over invisible lines that separate themselves that they think that they've made real?
Yeah. Ouch.
Zoom out just a little bit, and we all
Yeah.
look pretty wild. And to me, that doesn't seem like that's what most people want. But there must be some mechanism that's driving everybody to want to feel against each other. And I think that the way that we are doing it to ourselves, but somebody is stoking this fire, is to make us feel right and wrong. That there is a right way and a wrong way. And if you don't defend one of those two things, that you don't have value.
Yeah.
When really, if you're alive and you're breathing, you've got value.
Absolutely.
So
And it is keeping us focused on the small, because true, there's one Earth. We could probably save our planet if we got together as a global world.
it'd probably be fun.
Crazy, yeah.
Don't you
it'd be
think?
Fun. Excellent point.
I'd
Yeah.
way rather build shit that saves the planet than build
Yeah.
bombs.
Right.
Oh, absolutely.
And we all want to pay our taxes to something that would save the planet than
we have
build
it
bombs.
backwards
Yeah.
right
Hell
now.
yeah.
And the you and me and they we're all the same. Yeah.
Ironically, probably what we could do is just stop building bombs and start building really great schools, and we'd probably do it.
Yes. Absolutely.
Well, they did say if you want to stop war, stop building weapons.
Yeah.
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 But we have that fear thing in us again, where if they make everyone afraid, then you're going to back up these plans to protect yourself against
Right.
whatever thing may be threatening you. Yeah.
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 It's
Well,
manifested.
I will say, I think all four of us will be able to relate to this in some way because of the businesses that we've all done. But the thing that happens when you run a business is that you realize very, very quickly that running a business, you only have two options. You either can run and lead your business based on fear, which will give you great short-term results. If you make people who work for you afraid of you and you make them
Yeah.
feel like at any moment you could go off on them and there could be, there's just this constant friction, you will find people will get stuff done really quickly. Or you can choose respect, which is a much, much more difficult road to go down because it takes a really long time and you can't use fear even once. Because if you use fear even once, then they won't believe the respect is real. But on the other end of that, then you end up having more partners than you do employees, and you end up trying to build things together. But those are the only two options. People pretend like there's more, but in training, you learn very quickly you really only have two things. And the people who are the worst are the ones who think that they can be in the middle. Sometimes I'll use respect, sometimes I'll use fear. Sometimes I'll use respect, sometimes I'll use fear.
Flip-flopping.
And nobody knows what to do with them, and they end up being in this middle ground that's very unsuccessful. You can definitely look out in the world and see people who only use fear that become very successful. And you can definitely see people who only use respect who also become highly successful. But we got to ask people whether they want to make that choice. And right now, it looks like most people are feeling like they don't know how to be anything other than the middle. Even little things when we were kids, like people telling us that white lies are okay. Are they? I don't know. You guys think they're okay? Do you think white lies are okay?
This is a total side thing. There's this guy who said, "Yeah, I love when kids lie that first time," and so they tell you something. They're like, "Yeah, I lost something." Like, "Oh yeah, so tell me about that." He says it's their first time storytelling. They'll just keep growing it because they got to
my
keep
God.
protecting that thing that they said. So it is kind of crazy. The little white lie turns into this
Yeah,
much bigger thing
storytelling.
now because they got
That's
to
true.
protect that little thing.
protect it.
Which is exactly how it works for adults too. Which, if you've ever been betrayed by somebody, is why the betrayal becomes so complicated because the amount of time that they allowed it to go is all
ouch.
excruciating
Right,
pain
right.
for the person who is dealing with it in the in between, like almost unbearably cruel to that person.
Yeah.
But when you look at a child, the way that they lie, you can kind of see like, oh man, I started this, and now I've got to up it with this, and then I got to up it with this. It doesn't end. It's not a good strategy. It's a
And you
bad
feel bad
strategy.
too. It keeps eating your way because you lied to your parents and or whoever, and
Yeah.
Yeah,
it
and
feels,
in
it
a
eats you back.
business, if you just always say how it is and
Right.
the truth, you don't have to worry about
Right.
what you said to that client and what you said to this client because it's always the same
same.
story.
It's
Yeah.
a way better strategy.
Oh yeah,
Right.
yeah. Because I used
Transparent,
to
yeah.
work with this one guy when I was in that software company, and he'd always oversell because he wanted to get that sell. So he'd say that, oh, well, yeah, we can do that with the software, or the consultants. And I used to, always say, no, because you're setting up, everyone loses. The company loses because
Yeah.
they're not a happy client. The client's, not happy. The developers,
Yeah.
You've set them up to fail.
Everything.
Now you get a bad reputation.
Everything.
No one wins when you do that. Nobody. You can say, well, let's look into that and see if it's possible to do that. That's an okay thing to say,
Yeah, absolutely.
but not to just say, oh yeah, we can do that. What
Just
is
be
that?
transparent.
It's a short-term thing. You want to build a long-time relationship with these people, that they trust you, they know you have
Exactly.
integrity.
They love it.
And, they know you're going to do what you say you're going to do.
Right.
And it's not rocket science.
And
I
even
used to
if
work
it
with
doesn't
rocket
work.
scientists.
Yeah.
even if it doesn't work out the way they want it. For example, like my staff is so cute too. Like if someone like, oh my God, we're so behind, it's late for some. Oh no, they're not coming out. Like little like that. I'm like, I go tell them. I'm like, you know what? We're running this, and they look at me like, I'm not scared. Like you just communicate. I tell my staff, just tell them.
Yeah,
Tell them how it is.
communicate, yeah.
No one needs to be behind the kitchen. Just tell them how it is, and they actually love it. And they're actually going to be okay. You know, you just tell them, hey, no, you're going to have to wait. Sorry, this happened, this happened, this happened. I love it. I love it. Because no one, at this point, no one has been like, oh, my God. No, they, oh, okay. They understand. That's it. Just got to tell them how it is.
It's part of it. People don't tell you things. Like, people will get on board if you explain things to them.
Absolutely.
And so I think there's not enough explaining of things. Like, this is why this is happening. And,
Right,
and then you
right.
can see where the path goes. Yeah.
And I think you also have to figure out how people communicate. Some people, they only want to communicate on on text or an email and like me, pick up the phone. Just pick up the phone, and call me. And in order, like in business, and I think in life, it's important to understand how people in your world like to communicate, because everybody communicates
Differently. Absolutely.
And so when you find that, then it makes it so much easier to be able to communicate with them, so, because I know I'll do this. How does that client like to communicate?
Yes.
Well, this one likes text. They'll
right.
respond faster with a text. This one only wants emails, or this one, they're like me, they're old
the
school,
phone.
just pick up the phone and call them, So I think that
That's true.
helps with communication,
Yeah.
I think a lot of times, is just figuring out how people
Figure it
like
out.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think this is a profound thought. I think it's like many, many people have had this thought, but I would love to explore it for the four of us, which is that every problem is an opportunity, right?
Yes.
You know what I mean? So when you're presented a problem, the most advantageous way to be able to look at the problem is with gratitude. To be grateful that somebody presented you with a problem, because now you get purpose and value from being able to be a part of a solution that then brings you prosperity.
Yeah. Yeah. That's my go-to in the cooking class, because I love if we fail or someone fails or doing something, because then that's my opportunity to teach them or show them. We all find the solution together. I love that. Like it's so weird, but I was like, I love that. I was like, oh, something went wrong. I was like, I love this, and then I tell them, look, because you're here, we're gonna come up with a solution. I love that. I always said that. I was like, I don't want nobody to come up with burn something and stuff. But if something tweaks the wrong way, I love that. Because then they're like, oh, back it up. Let's do this again, and we all find the solution together, and then we succeed. I love it.
For the three of you, oh, sorry, go ahead,
I was
Dina.
just going to two things come out of that. One, they know that they can find a solution. And two, you survived it and something else happens, you're stronger.
Right.
If something, if you never had something go bad, wrong,
Yeah.
then something goes bad, you can just fall apart. But
Right.
every experience you get of having to do something better
I love it.
makes you stronger. Yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
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 Right.
Do the three of you have an example of a loss that you've taken that gave you a lesson on the other end of it that you're now like unbelievably grateful for? Something that you in the moment was like, ugh, but then when you got a chance to be able to think about it,
My ex-husband.
I was going to say,
Oh my gosh!
I was
Like
gonna say
the way, like I can't put up with anything in the world because of my ex-husband, and Oliver knows him, Casey.
funny.
Oliver. I mean, he's a great guy. Don't get me wrong, but he has the victim on himself, and I try to help him as much as I could. Like, dude, you can do it. I used to be like, you want to be a survivor? He went through a lot of trauma too, but he was always like, oh my gosh. So I have to help him and took care of him, or anyway. But then he helped me, like put up with everything in front. Like I'm grateful for him.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why he was part of my life.
Yeah.
Like I am so grateful for him.
yeah, it's so funny that you said that, because that was the first thing that came to my head. Because when I was going to get a divorce, I was just like, oh my God, all these years to put into it,
Yes.
and children and everything else, and he told me, he said, I know now you don't understand, but someday you'll thank me. And
He said that to you?
yeah, he
Oh,
said that
wow.
to me.
Oh my.
And and I look back now and I think, oof, compared to now that I'm with John, and Billy was better, and then John is even better. So, but it really it threw me when he said that. I
Have
was
you
like,
sent a
oh,
thank you
okay.
card? I think you
is that a new
should.
Hallmark
I don't
thing? It's
even-
like divorce thank you cards
I am
for
a
everybody.
Thank you. You're right.
I am a big thank you. I'm a big card writer.
You were
but
right.
That's all right. No, I don't.
No,
need to
no.
do that. But it really is that
Yeah.
I'm grateful that he wanted a divorce, because I think because of my religion, because of the
Yeah.
way I was brought up, I was staying in it even though I knew I wasn't happy.
Aw.
But then and then I felt that there was the other things that were going on too,
Yeah.
that came up. But, it just, I think getting that validation that I was right, that those things were happening.
Yeah.
And then, also just, realizing I could be happy.
Yes.
I don't have to be, always the happy person in the relationship and the
Right,
one who's
that's
always
exhausting.
making things happen.
Yes,
and,
yes.
I can do
Oh
that
my
for myself.
God, totally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Relationships are particularly complicated, and then relationships that end in divorce are very, very complicated.
Oh, yeah.
But one of the things that's complicated about them is that nobody ever tells you that you can be with someone that makes you feel completely alone.
It's terrible.
Nobody tells you that the
That's terrible.
the deepest loneliness that you
That's
can feel is laying next to someone in bed who you both know that it's not going the direction that
Yeah.
you need to. And it doesn't even need to be that you don't have, I mean, you could have physical chemistry, you could have conversational
Yeah.
chemistry, but you could just not be aligned on a core principle of the way that that you see the world, and you can know that that is, that it's not going to get better because that doesn't get
Right.
better. And that idea that loneliness with people around is not something that you can completely compute right away is a really difficult thing to understand,
Yeah.
Well, there's huge amounts that you have to do with a divorce, so people stay in it often, or they think it's going to get better.
Right.
But often when it falls apart, it's supposed to fall apart because there is someone better out there, or you grew apart, or one person grew this way and one person grew that way.
Yeah. And we
So
were
if
so
you
young when we got
Both want to
married.
come back
Oh,
together,
me
then
too.
that
Well,
will work.
yeah.
But if you don't, it's so natural to want to hold on to it. It just is, and then
It
you
is.
don't want to feel rejection.
Because you know
not-
what you know it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not rejection. It's just that it's not working, like you said. But we feel rejected, so that's a bad,
It's kind of the devil, you know.
Yeah.
Do you know
sort
who
of.
Esther Perel is? Do you,
Oh, that's
anybody?
familiar, but I'm trying to remember why.
She's just like brilliant couples therapist.
Oh.
And she's become very famous in probably the last decade. But she said something, and I say it all the time. Oliver's probably heard me say it a bunch of times. But she said something that I think is probably the most brilliant thing that I've ever heard someone say about the way that relationships work. And basically, what she was saying is that as an adult, it's very likely that every adult who's pursuing a relationship with someone will have a cycle between like 5 and 8 relationships that they'll have in their adult life. The question is whether you're going to have 5 to 8 relationships with the same person, or you're going to have 5 to 8 relationships with 5 to 8 different people. And that's
true.
a very beautiful way to think about
Yeah.
it. I've actually, I've been divorced twice. So I've gone
Same.
through it in 2 different ways. And it's complicated in 2
Yeah.
different ways,
Yeah.
right? And there's so much that goes into that. But you can have so much love for somebody, and you can have
Right.
so much admiration for them in certain ways, but you can have kids that don't blend well together, or you can have other things that come in between that you have to deal with, that your
Yeah.
life is not simple, and you have to talk about it and think about it in those terms. And if you don't both grow at exactly the same time in exactly the same way, the chances of
Right.
you being able to make that next hurdle should go down.
Right.
Because each of us only has a certain amount of time. We only have one life that we're 100% sure about.
Right.
We'd love to find out that we've got more, but I
Yeah.
only know about one. So you don't want to waste it. You know what I mean? You don't want to
Yeah.
spend more time continuing to invest in something that isn't really in the best interest of you or the other person. But you also don't want to give up on the idea that maybe you could figure out how to get over that hurdle and find each other at growth. I think probably the best measuring stick for that, though, is can you meet each other at equal vulnerability? Because where people really miss each other is not necessarily that they can't figure out how to work shit out. Like, if you sit down and you just have a problem, you solve it. You can solve problems. That's not tricky. The tricky thing is if one person has the ability to be extremely vulnerable and honest about where they're coming from, and the other person hasn't done the work necessary to be able to get there.
Right.
That gap in vulnerability is almost insurpassable. And I think we've got to just figure out how to have that conversation more often, right? That like, if you're struggling, look at the gap in vulnerability, and can you figure out whether it's possible for one or both of you to be able to bridge that gap. If it's not, then you need to look at whether, how long is that process going to take before you realize that the vulnerability gap is too big. But being your honest, authentic self is an enormous part of offering yourself to a partner. Because if you're leaving anything in between what you think and what they feel and experience with you, that is a lot. That gap gets really big in intimacy.
And I know how I am in this relationship versus my last one, and then when I was married, it's so completely different because you do learn from those experiences, and you do learn to find your voice.
Yeah.
That's a big thing for me. It was to find my voice, and not just be, always the one who's going to compromise to make the family happy, to be there, because that's what I did growing up. So
Yeah.
it was a really easy thing for me to fall into, you know, and saying, you know what, we need to talk about this because I might start getting, resentful if we don't.
Yeah.
To say something like that to your partner,
Yeah.
that's a big thing,
Communication is huge,
yeah,
right?
to
And you've
let
been
'em
saying that
know.
all night, right? It's the key
Right,
to being able
communication,
to
yeah.
getting anything done.
Yeah.
I also think empathy is huge. Not
Absolutely.
everyone's going to be a talker, but to be empathetic
Yeah.
all the
It's
way
huge.
and supportive versus either jealous or you don't want that to happen or you have your own ideas about something. So I feel like support's huge with couples and empathy is huge, along with
Yeah.
communication.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think that they always talk about your love languages. It's true though. If you understand your partner's love language and how they, if
True.
they, if they like to be told how great they are, they need that affirmation. That's their love language. That's
Yeah.
what they, or the other person likes to have things done for them or be appreciated or whatever they are. What there's 7 of them, I don't really know what they all are, but because I'm always teasing John and saying, "Give me my love language,"
I love it.
I always thought the most perfect version of a relationship would be that if you woke up and you just thought, I really genuinely want to do whatever I can to make your life the best that it
Yeah,
can be
yeah.
today.
Yeah.
I just love you and I want
Yeah.
your life to be amazing. And then to have somebody feel that way about you,
It's wonderful. Yeah.
right? Like that would be
Yeah.
an incredible experience, but there's a lot of complications. I think love languages are really interesting, but they also can be something that becomes transactional. And that gets very complicated
Oh,
too.
Yeah, if you do
where-
it that way. But
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
do it out of, I just know, because I want that person to be happy and I want to, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's a little bit different than, okay, I'm going to do this for you and you're going to do this for me. And then we're going to, one to one.
Yeah.
If you just do it because you know that that's going to make them happy.
Yeah.
It's going to make him happy that I went and bought his cookies and I got his candy.
Yeah.
Because that's what he likes to have every night. And it's just a little thing.
Yeah.
But I know it's going to make him happy at the end of the day.
And
And it took me 2 seconds to go do it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you exude generosity. Even in the short amount of time that I've known you, you've been so generous to me.
Oh.
Right? So like that's definitely a part of your personality that is your superpower is that you walk around the world looking for ways to be kind to people, which is
Very nice.
which I hope in return what you get is that you also find that you've got a wealth of people who want to be generous to you.
Yeah, I think I told you this before that my mommy one time told me, she said, Michelle, you're very selfish. And I said, really? I don't think I'm selfish. And she said, yeah, because you never let people give to you. So you never let them have the great feeling of giving because you always want to give.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a really interesting way
Yeah.
of saying it, but she got her point across,
Yeah. There you go.
yeah. So
That was a powerful comment by your mom. We have
Definitely.
I was also wondering that we also put a lot of weight on relationships. Instead of being really okay with yourself
Yeah.
or being alone
Yeah.
is a huge ability to be able to be that way. So I feel like, we feel like it crumbles sometimes if a relationship goes away versus, okay, now I get to be who I am or whatever
Yeah.
it is that, could come out of that fire.
Well, I just spent the last year and a half of my life actively practicing how to be alone without being lonely.
Yeah.
So I had
Yeah,
to,
that's
and
big.
what I had to do is give myself extreme focus. So I set the intention for myself that I was going to focus on my kids and I was going to focus on my work, and that those two things needed to be enough, and that you don't, I think that all of us have three major things that we're trying to satisfy at any given time. There's a certain amount of your time and attention that should go to things that feel like your passions, the things that you love to do with your time that are for you. There's a certain amount that goes to your relationships, which could be friendships, it could be family members, it could be intimate relationships. And then there's your craft. You know, what have you spent your time becoming an expert in so that you build that self-confidence of feeling like you bring purpose and meaning to the world based on the fact that you have striving for mastery around something. Cooking, a great example of that. You know what I mean? That once you know how to do it, nobody can ever take that away from you, ever. You can always make something that makes people smile at any given time. But the truth might be that at any given time in any of our lives, asking for 3 out of 3 of those things is a little selfish. You know what I mean? Like, so sometimes you just got to take one on the chin and admit that you're only going to get 2 out of those 3 things right now. And that as you invite one, you know, the one that's missing in, you're probably going to have to give up a little bit of one of the other ones to be able to make that space. Once you start getting into that level of self-negotiation, I think it also leads you a little bit closer to the idea that the point of this is self-love.
Yes.
If you don't love yourself, then the chances that you have the capacity to love somebody else has got to be relatively low.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's necessarily 100% true, but it seems logical to me that if you have to become trustworthy to figure out who you should trust, it would also make sense to me that you have to figure out how to develop a really strong sense of self-love before you could possibly offer that level of love to other people. And there are so many things that block that. You know, if you have those voices in your head that are like, you're not enough, are you making it so that the person that you're trying to be in love with is not enough so that you can satisfy your own image of not being enough? Very complicated shit. Very, very complicated shit. And you don't know where that begins and ends. But in my estimation, you got to work out your own stuff so that you know the difference between those two things. Otherwise, you could be looking at the mirror through them rather than, allowing yourself to be open to seeing them for who they really are, not like they are responsible for you.
Or believing them that you are enough.
Yeah.
That's another thing.
That's it.
You know, because you have that insecurity.
Oh, yeah.
So even though they're telling you, you know, you're more than enough, you're whatever, you know,
Yeah.
it's sometimes hard to see that. So it's not like you're really. Sometimes it could be like what you said, that you make that other person not enough for you because of your own, or you can sabotage something because you're not believing that you are.
Right.
In their eyes, you are.
Yes.
But you're not, believing
Absolutely.
it.
And
so you're diminishing what their feelings are, though, too, at the same time. It's like when somebody gives you a compliment, you know?
It might go back to that equality comment that we had before we even started the podcast, which is like the reason why equality is so amazing is because I need to walk into a room and not look down on anybody. I can't be better than anyone, but I also can't walk into a room and think that anyone's better than me. I just need to be present in that room and be able to feel it out. Just need to figure out what's going on. And I think in relationships, that's also really important, is that I can't put somebody above me in a relationship, but I sure as shit can't put them below me.
Sure.
Right.
So I've got to figure out how we find each other at equality, and that we just figure out, why are we choosing to give each other our time, and how do we find that love and that connection in that way. But
That's really important.
That's the most perfect statement, though, really.
Yeah.
what's that?
That what you just said about the equality
to
not being
them.
better than anyone, but being worse. It's like, that's a really hard walk to walk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's also because we have become so indoctrinated into what it is to feel comfortable about ourselves because of authority, because we've spent our whole life looking for people to approve us. We spent our whole life looking to get a certain grade. We spent our whole life looking for a boss to tell us that we've done a good job. We spend, we get into our relationships and, I don't know what it is for women, but I'd just say for men, I would say there's a lot of like, if you feel insecure in any way, it's amazing what your partner can do for you to be able to help you build that confidence when sometimes you don't always feel it for yourself.
Yeah.
So
I think it's the same.
but there's
Yes,
there's that balance that you have to find of being like, okay, I really appreciate it that you can give me the hand up when I need it, but I better not be addicted to needing it very often, because then otherwise I'm just an anchor for you, or the other way around, and it's a never-ending process in that way.
Is it
Before we get
possible?
to, go ahead, yeah, please
I
do.
was just gonna say, is it possible to take like a
Oh
2-minute
yeah, of
break?
course. You need to use the restroom.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Is
Do you
that
mind?
being recorded?
Yeah. No. Do you mind just pausing, Oliver?
Let's cut that.
Yeah, I
part.
got
She makes you,
Well, maybe in the same way though, and it's
Can't
okay.
wait for the
We can jump
question.
right back in. But
Okay.
we were just talking about like when you win and you lose when you're playing something. Which one lasts longer? Does it? You know? Do you
wait,
get?
no, wait, can I ask a question?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you like to play games and do you like to win? Does it matter if you lose? What's your feeling on playing games? Do you want me if I ask that question?
I'm neutral, to be honest.
How neutral?
Like to me, it goes like playing with my kids and a board game like that. To me, it doesn't matter.
Did you play sports in school?
I did soccer when I was younger.
Did you like to win? Did it matter?
And those kind of physicals, yeah, I like to win. But yeah, I don't know. See, like I'm neutral too.
Yeah.
When I see my kids playing and they're winning, I always think about the other kids. I was like, oh my God, that sucks. They're gonna go back home and they're gonna like, I lost. I always go there
Yeah.
when I see my kids in sports. Me, I'm neutral. I mean, of course I like to win, but if I lose, I lose.
Yeah,
Whatever.
I'm kind of like that. I'm competitive.
Yes, me
and
too.
I like to win,
Me too.
but and but if I lose, I'm like
Same.
poor sport. I don't
Yeah.
get upset. I don't, I see the kids
Same.
sometimes, yeah, that they get, upset or they throw something or they, and I'm like, it serves no purpose.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
be a good
same.
sport and it is. Did you have fun when you were doing it? That's what matters to me
Right,
more.
that's true. You
I
learn
mean, I
something?
do want to win. Of course, everybody likes to win, and
Yeah.
and when I'm doing it, I'm competitive.
Yeah, me
so I won't
too.
just like let my kids win when they were little. They're adults, but to just let them win,
Yeah.
because they need to know. It's just like not everybody should get a
Free ride, yeah.
yeah, or everybody would get a trophy, because then when you go into the real world and you're not getting the trophy, you don't know
Right.
how to handle it.
Right.
Because I see that a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah, you don't have
You
the
know.
resources, the inner core to, yeah.
Yeah,
take
to
the lot. Yeah.
deal with the loss because we all have
We
losses.
don't have to deal. Yeah.
whatever it might be.
So Nina, you had a different perspective on this, though, right?
What is
Oh, I
yours?
want to hear.
I hate to win.
You hate to win?
Yeah.
Oh
for that
my
very
God.
reason you just said, because someone has to lose. I hate to lose. I'm always for the underdog. I like to play well. I really like to play well. But,
Oh,
and it's
Nina.
fun. It has to be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know.
Yeah.
My mom had
awkward.
that exact same. She felt the exact same way that you were describing, and I love to a pathetic degree. I love the show.
I want to be my teammate, though,
I love the show Survivor. Has anybody
yeah.
ever watched that show?
Yes.
Okay, so
I love competition shows.
Yes. But the Survivor is a different level.
That's,
Yeah.
that's a different
when
level.
Yes.
I saw Survivor when I was the first season of Survivor came out when I was a camp counselor and I was at a party watching the very first episode amongst all these people, and I was like the youngest counselor and they were all the coolest counselors on the planet and we were all watching it together. And when I watched it for the first time, I was like, I've never experienced something that spoke to me. I've never gone, like I had been to like church with my friends or I've done stuff and I was like, why did none of that spoke to me? That was all just, I was there and I experienced it, but I watched Survivor and I was like, this is speaking to me. What is going on?
Have you applied? Have you?
I have applied, yeah. And I've never made it beyond sending in an audition tape, which is fine. Like,
Keep doing it.
oh, I definitely will. And and actually, I'm hoping that eventually, if I get on, that we'll have already built our game and we'll be far enough along where maybe our game gets accelerated because I can play with a curiosity mindset.
Nice.
The whole theory that I have on Survivor is that everybody watches Survivor assuming that what's going on is that it's a game about deception.
Deception.
But I actually believe that at its core, it's a game about trust. Because if you watch it for long enough, and I've watched, there's 50 seasons, I've watched every season probably at least 4 or 5 times. And over the last year, I did not watch any television other than Survivor. So I would go home every night and I would cook myself a meal, or I'd cook myself and my son a meal, and I would watch Survivor. It was the only thing that I was doing for that. And what you start to see is that as soon as people start lying, is as soon as they start to have to, like we were talking about, always looking over their back, who's saying this, and then they get a sense of paranoia, and then that paranoia starts to seep into the way that they start building relationships, and then all of
Yeah.
a sudden everything gets way more complicated. So the way that I would play it is I would go on and I would be extraordinarily trustworthy, and then I would figure out who I could trust based on who I could see that was using similar patterns to me, and then I would start to build that until I could get to the end. But
Nice.
my mom loved to talk Survivor with me, but because she knew that I loved it and she watched it and she liked it, but she hated the idea that somebody had to be voted out. But the beauty of Survivor, and I think that this is where competition is really important, is that there's nothing about Survivor that's violent.
Right.
They just get voted out. But the only person who can win is the person who gets enough votes from the people who they voted out. So the way you vote somebody out is actually the strongest indicator as to whether you will actually win the game, which to me is the closest thing to real life that actually exists. If you run a business, there is no way that everyone along the way is going to like you.
Right. Right.
It's just
Or that
impossible.
they'll all keep their job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've gone through
That's so true.
in the years that I've been building this business, I have had so much heartbreak having to let people go and build a team and let go of a team, and there's so like genuine heartbreak that you have to go through for all of that. But in the end, we were there to try to accomplish a goal, and so you have to build a team around people who are dedicated and focused to that goal, and you have to make difficult decisions to be able to to get to that point. So I always felt like competition is exactly the version of what humanity needs.
Right.
We need no violence, and we need competition turned up to the max. Because the more competition we allow ourselves to be able to have, the more we realize that you can lose without feeling like you have to attach it to your identity, and you can win without feeling like you have to attach it to your identity. What you have to be able to attach to your identity is that you're willing to show up and play.
Oh.
So your trustworthy thing is huge, because that's the part that is good for humanity. And maybe people don't lose, you just do something different. So that thing where it's set up where there's only one person win and everyone loses is a tough model. I don't know. But that trustworthy thing and respect is something, because if something has to be done,
Yeah.
it's done in that manner.
Yeah. Well, all I know is that in my own personal life, things that I would have considered to be a loss have ended up being huge wins for me. So I don't know that it's healthy for us to even think about winning and losing as something that's good and bad.
Oh.
It's maybe just that you have to be willing to take on the experience. It's the courage
Experience it.
that builds, and anybody who's an entrepreneur and has done something, or you're doing something that maybe is outside the box. What you understand is what you're really fighting is all of this influence from other people telling you that it's probably not a good idea, but you're like, fuck it, I'm doing it anyways. You know what I mean? And that is, to me, that's one of the best parts of what life has to offer me. I hope that Oliver gets to experience that. I hope that my children get to experience that. I hope everybody gets to experience this idea of being like, I know everybody else thinks it's a bad idea, but somewhere in my gut,
It's your instincts.
somewhere in my gut,
know.
I
Trust
know
your
it's a good
instinct.
idea. And so let's do it. You
Yes.
know what I mean? And if you lose, you lose, and you
Right.
figure out how you
Yeah, we used
rebuild.
to- the
yeah.
Nike switch. We used to in my office. We used to always just do this. Just do it.
Just do
So
it.
I would
love
walk by
it.
them and I just do
I
this.
love that.
I give them a little wink. Just do it. Just
Mm-hmm.
do it. Because they'd be like, I don't know if I can do it.
But you believe in them. You've given them that confidence
That's
that
cool.
do it.
Yeah.
And you've given them the Hail Mary to say yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's something
Yeah.
there. I don't know. And I feel like when you say that, just do it, is everybody has something they're good at. So just do it. It may
Right.
not be leading a company, but the thing is you want to be a gardener because it's solo and nature and but like you said, be the best version of you.
Yes.
And you win.
Yes.
And sometimes you have to just do it because,
Just do it.
I know some people that, if they get, paralysis by analysis, like they're starting a business and because they want everything to be so perfect. And they want their website to be exactly perfect. And they want this to be exactly perfect. And and yeah, everybody wants it to be perfect, but
Mm-hmm.
you got to get stuff out and you got to get
Yeah.
it started, and,
Yeah.
and then you refine it, and you refine
Yeah,
it, and you
yeah,
refine
as
it,
you
and
go.
you refine it.
Correct,
You know,
yeah.
and your strategy changes, and because you're growing.
Mm-hmm.
If it's always this, if you're always stagnant, you're never going to do anything. So it's always, that play of knowing, that you need to make those changes. So.
It's always funny to me when somebody shows me like a business plan or they go through it and they're like projecting their numbers. I'm like,
I love it.
okay,
Yeah.
Sure.
yeah, okay, yeah, because you have no fucking clue what you don't know.
This is exactly what I say.
So-
you just do your best.
Strap
Do your
in
best-
or
yeah.
don't strap in.
Yeah.
Those are the options you have. Figure out. I say that I don't know, Oliver. You can tell me whether I say this to you enough, but I know that I say it to my son who's in college all the time, as often as I possibly can. The only people who cannot be stopped are people who will never stop. That's it.
That's
If you
huge.
want to start
Yeah,
a
I've heard that
business,
one.
if you want to start a business, you are guaranteed to eat giant shit sandwiches. There is
Yum.
0% chance that you're getting through that process without something
Absolutely.
happening that you
Yes.
don't recognize is going to happen. You never knew you were going to break your foot, but that breaking of your foot was
Yep.
created problems that you couldn't have.
Absolutely.
But on the other end, the reason why you still have a business and the reason why your business will thrive is because of you, because
Yes,
you're the kind of person
exactly.
who will never stop, because
stop.
you'll keep
100%,
going
yeah,
and going
100%.
and going.
Wow.
And perseverance
Yeah.
is the
Perseverance, yeah.
yeah. The only people who cannot be stopped are people who won't stop. That's it. Everything else has a line in the sand where something won't work, or that you got money you needed, you lost money you needed, blah, blah,
Right.
blah. It all is
Yeah.
going to be there. But if in your mindset, you're like, listen,
Yeah.
if I got to go bankrupt, I'll start all over
Yeah,
again. If I got to do this,
totally.
I'll
Oh
start
my
all over
gosh.
Yeah,
again.
because as you know, I used to work with at Los Alamos, and
Mm-hmm.
PhDs all over, and which is amazing. But I used to say I have a PhD as well. And they say, really? And I say, yeah,
Oh.
perseverance, hard work, and dedication.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's my PhD.
Well, I will say anybody who's been divorced, I think that this is what we can get particularly good at, is that I've been below zero twice.
Right.
I've now been divorced twice, so that I understood it wasn't that I just went back to zero. I went back below zero and had to
Yeah.
work my way back up. And so I know I can.
Right.
For the rest of my life, I know that I don't want to ever do that again.
Yeah,
If I
yeah,
can make
yeah,
that
yeah,
really
yeah.
clear.
Of course, yeah, yeah.
If I'm
Lose your
gonna,
charm.
no.
But you can if you had to. Yeah.
Right.
And
exactly.
knowing that you can is a level of confidence that you cannot buy. And you can't fake it till you make it. And you can't do
Nope.
any of that
Nope.
that sly shit that people
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
It is something that you have to have experienced, and you have to know that you have resilience, because
Yeah.
resilience is the thing that allows you to be able to,
Resilience. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I remember my son told me one time, he goes, Mommy, you're starting this company and you only have one client, and you just signed a contract for this rental contract for 3 years. And I said, yeah, I know. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And he's like,
oh,
okay. He said, yeah, I know,
Yeah.
wow.
And, that was, like 18 years ago. So,
Aw.
so it, just, and I've had
18
really
years.
hard times,
Yeah.
really, really hard times,
Yeah.
and I have really great times, but, it's just, okay, yeah, I know.
That's awesome.
So what are we going
Right.
to do? Are we going to cry or are we going to go?
Then-
Let's just go.
Would you agree that the number one thing about taking risk that is that you just never, you don't lie about the risk. You don't lie to yourself, and you
Yeah.
don't lie to anybody else. If you're on the edge, tell people you're on the edge.
Right.
Tell them why
Right.
you're on the edge. Tell them why you're working on the edge and why
Yes.
it's worth working on the edge and where you can go. But the
Yeah.
worst thing that you can do is to pretend that you're good when you're not,
Oh, yeah.
or to, and then because the adverse of that is that you will likely at someday be good, and then you'll still feel like you're pretending.
Yeah.
Right? So you've got to actually be good when you're good, and when you're not, you got to be
not,
able to
yeah.
communicate that to people and let them know, hey, I got a plan. I'm going to get myself out of this.
Yeah.
But But right now, you need to know that I'm on a ragged edge, which means that we've got to have the kind of relationship where we both feel like we're standing on the edge of a cliff. Let's work like that.
Yeah.
And then when we get off this cliff, then let's relax and let's do all the kinds of things that you can imagine being amazing when you're not on a cliff.
Yeah.
But for now, let's be on a cliff together, because that's actually what's going on here.
Yeah.
It's the image thing that gets people thrown off, is that they think that people need to see them in a certain way. But really, my experience is that people just like to see you for exactly what you are. And as long as you give them that, you build trust.
That's
I was
it.
just going to say that. I was just going to say you build the trust.
You build the
because
trust.
they see you as a human.
Yeah.
Right.
And they can relate to you. A lot
Yeah.
of times you don't think that they can, because you think that they might be up here because your perception of them is not maybe what's real.
Right.
Because they're almost just in the same boat that you are.
Yeah.
But in your mind, you think that they're different. But when they hear that, you're being vulnerable and letting them know, this is my situation, and I'm hanging on by a thread, and they are too.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh my God, so am I.
Yeah.
And then you build that, that camaraderie and that trust, and it makes a big difference.
Yeah.
And they don't see you as a fake person; they just know you're genuine.
Yeah.
I mean, we all have stuff, and not everybody can be a billionaire or whatever
Right.
it is.
The three of you are amazing, and this episode has been amazing. And I hope that one thing that continues from this episode into every episode that we do from here on out is that we continue to make a case for the idea that there is no substitute for the truth, that the truth works better every single time. Never, ever, ever does the truth not work.
Right.
Ever. You might not get the short-term result that you want with the truth, but you weren't going to get it anyways.
Yeah.
You were going to lose right down the road. It was going to be right there for you.
Right on.
So all you can do is tell the truth all the time without
All the time.
compromise. And then you have to deal with what that is in the short term so that you can get your big wins in the long run. Most people I know don't want short-term gains for long-term losses. We want short-term losses for long-term gains. That's the better game to play. And if you're playing another game, you should look at your strategy.
Right.
That's all
Yeah.
it is. In the end, I don't believe being honest and lying is about being a good person or a bad person. Otherwise, we wouldn't all be able to do it.
Yeah.
I don't know a single person who doesn't know how to lie. And I don't know a single person who doesn't know how to tell the truth. All it is a strategy. That's it. And you have to choose one.
Yeah.
Because
That's
if you
true.
get stuck in the middle between those two places, then you're going to get stuck in the middle of your life. You're going to be ineffective in your life if you don't choose a camp.
Yeah,
one or
and the only thing I think that you can take with you is, who you are as a person and your integrity, and and how people know who you are, not how they perceive you,
Right.
but they know who you are.
true.
Yeah.
They know you're going to show up. They know you're
Oh,
going
that's true.
to, be truthful. They know you're going to, say what you're going to.
Relying.
If I say I'm going to do this,
I'm
I'm
gonna
going to
do
do
it.
this.
Yeah.
That is what you can take with you. The rest.
Yeah.
Even like you and I knew each other before we came into this room. I trust you. You know what I mean? Because we knew each other before this. I trust the two of you.
Yeah.
Right? So how amazing is that in this short amount of time, even with this in less than 3 hours now, we haven't even
Yeah.
gotten to that point, that you can, as long as you're willing to be able to speak from a place that everybody can feel, then you know really quickly who you can and who you cannot. That's an amazing thing that we have as being human that I think we just need to tap into more often. It might be like this additional sense that we don't even understand completely because it's been manipulated for so long.
Yeah, and I think you can people can see through people. You
Oh,
can
yeah.
see
Oh.
that car salesman. That sounds bad. I don't mean anything
No,
bad
I
for
don't
that
mind that
car
at all.
salesman,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I
You
know
can
some really
see through
nice
people,
car
yeah.
salesmen that are very honest. But no, but you just know,
Right.
you can tell they're full of baloney.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're just like,
Yeah.
that's not true. You're
Yeah.
just telling.
The people
you're telling
who
stories.
So I can tell you, because the car business is notoriously bad for having people who are very schmarmy. I don't know what's the better word for that, right? But like that they do not use like ethical process to be able to do stuff. Not the successful ones.
Yep.
That's true.
In the car business, if you meet somebody who sells a lot of cars, somebody who is killing it for their family, somebody who's doing excellent,
true.
those people are straight arrows.
Yeah.
Not always. Every once in a while, you'll meet
Yeah.
somebody who is part of that 2% sociopath version
Yeah.
of somebody who's just able to like be charming and then manipulate the shit out of somebody on
Yeah.
the other side. But for the most part, they're people who understand that long-term relationships turn
Yeah.
into a car sale that will recur for them every 3 years.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
if what they do is they build a base of those people that if you're there for 5 years, that all of a sudden you don't even need to sell anything anymore.
Yeah,
You just keep getting people
Yeah.
to come back to
they
you.
just
and
know your
come
name.
back
They,
to you,
they've
yeah.
got you on their phone.
that's it.
Yeah.
You just become their car person, and that's it. You're
Yeah,
done.
I had a car person like that when I moved here, and he was wonderful, and I could trust him with everything. When I got in a car accident, a bus hit me, ran over me,
Yeah.
and he was the first person I called, and
Oh, that's
I just
great.
knew he was going to
That's
take
actually-
care of it, and he was going to help me, and that's huge.
Yeah.
That is huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about what you're saying about, you shake people's hands and that kind of intuition.
That's very.
So
yeah.
I used to work at Greta's Great Grains, behind
At where?
the desk. Greta's Great Grains.
Uh-huh.
And there would be some people you joke with, and this and that, and there's others it's just a transaction. You want the croissant? Here's that.
Oh, yeah.
And I couldn't figure out what it is. And I'm feeling, and it happens everywhere, that if you have an open heart and you have an open
Yeah.
heart, we want to talk.
Right.
When you have a closed heart and you have an open heart, you don't have that.
Yeah.
And it's a simple thing, and who knows why it's there. Fear, you were burned by someone, you're running late, you never know. But if you were open, they're open, it's an amazing thing with a total stranger.
That's my
Yeah.
favorite challenge when I see people like that. They're like cold shoulder to me or something. I have a cool story. I took a cooking class from this like French chef, and I show up at his class and I was a little late and I hated that. And then I was working, I'll never forget, with eggplants. He put me to work with eggplants, and I never seen eggplants because I just came to this country. And I'm like, oh, what is this? And he looked at me, he's like, well, Rosa, those are eggplants. I wonder where you left Mexico, but with his French accent. But it was a while before all this crazy thing. And I love him because I'm like, okay, now I want to win you over. Oh, by the end of the course, like we were like this, because I was like, chef, yes. By the end, I was. So that's my biggest challenge too. Like I see them and I'm like, okay, what's wrong here? Why are they so much like that? No, we gotta turn this around.
Yeah.
So when I see clients like that, customers, they come and they are like so cold. No. It's kind of like my responsibility to make everybody feel like, okay, we're warm here. This is fussy over here.
Yeah.
What's going on? I just turn it around, and that's my favorite
Yeah,
challenge.
that's mine too.
Yeah,
I do that.
You know what I was thinking, sitting next to you, and we have a lot in common. Is this like a middle child
I was thinking the
syndrome?
same thing. Are you-
Right?
I don't know.
I've been thinking about
Technically,
this.
yes, but
Okay.
Yeah.
Like since we are here 2 hours, and they're like, "Oh my God, I feel the same." And I look at you, and I'm like, "Hold on, she just say she is a middle child.
Yeah.
Is this like a middle? Do you have like a middle child syndrome? That it's someone out there like that
Yeah.
can connect.
there's a
with this.
huge amount of evidence that where you are in your family
Yeah.
dictates so much about the personality traits that you have to take on to be able to
Yeah.
survive what that is.
Yeah.
But it appears that it has a lot more to do with the nurture than the nature part of us.
Yeah.
So it's you're picking up patterns that are necessary for you to survive within the order in which you're in the family.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have a ton to do with who you might be at your core. So you might be somebody who's like incredibly generous and feel this way, but you end up in an order of your family that
Yeah.
makes you tamp that down a little bit to be able to survive
Right.
whatever environment
'Cause
that
we're
you're
so-
in, and then you've got to work the rest of your life to be able to open yourself back up to who you really are.
Yeah.
And then you can have that in the opposite direction too, you know what I mean, where you get put in a part of your family. Families are so tricky. Actually, I got to give Oliver credit. He said something the other day to me that like it touched me at my core, and he was saying that families are really tricky because they get so close to us and they see us in this one particular way that oftentimes you can be working so hard in your life and you can do these, things that to other people, you can feel seen by strangers for what it is that you're doing, but then you're around your family and it feels like you feel invisible to them in
I was
the
the
progress that
invisible
you've
child.
made.
I'm the invisible. Still are.
Total invisible child.
Are you still are? Like after all your success?
Oh yeah, well,
Yeah.
I think so. But we've lost some. But so it's really weird. It's very, very odd. 'Cause
I am. Like,
you would
I'm
think that the
completely
oldest would
invisible.
be the one that was the responsible one, and I was the responsible one.
Yeah.
Because my mommy would call me from Albuquerque, because she needed something. And this was before they delivered groceries. And I
you all the way here.
contacted Albertsons. It was a grocery store in Albuquerque, and talked with the manager. And I would get my mommy's grocery list every week, and he had my credit card on file. And he was the most nicest man in the universe. And he would fill her grocery list and drop it to her house every week.
Way
And,
before.
and I'd say, but my sister lived just 2 miles away. She said, yeah, but her husband doesn't like to be bothered. I'm like, but I'm in Boston. But she knew
But you
I'd
can
do
be
it.
bothered.
But she knew that I'd do it.
You'll
But
do
you're
it,
also,
get it
that's your
done.
nature too. You
Yeah.
would get it done.
Yeah, I'd get it done.
Maybe your sister, and maybe your sister used to be that way, but she got married, and the guy, who knows what it is?
Yeah,
Who knows?
yeah.
But
Yeah.
But
she
it
knew
was
you would-
always more that way, and so it's.
So I'm invisible to my everything that I've done, but I wasn't, unfortunately, like when my sister passed, I was the one they call and I have to go, and then kind of like took care of stuff. And I'm like, wait a minute, like why me? Sometimes I'm like, why me? Like I'm invisible to you guys. Like you're never like, hey Rosa, you're doing great.
Yeah.
But when
When they need something, then you're there. Yeah.
That's not cool.
But maybe we're not invisible. Maybe we just think we are because we don't get any accolades. But the
that's
fact that they would value you enough to call you to get that job done.
Yeah. And I
They
got it
know
done.
you.
See, and you got it done.
Yeah.
So I take what Oliver says, and I agree with that. The other one is sometimes, you could be very gregarious out there, but you also like to be really quiet. So people think, oh, you're so gregarious. Like, but they don't really know you, whereas your family knows all of you.
All of
And
you.
so you can feel 100% because they know all of you. Whereas I feel sometimes like, no, you don't know me. You think I'm this, and I'm not that. So there's a little bit. It's a complicated thing.
Yeah.
Family's a complicated.
Well,
yeah.
and the other thing about family too is that sometimes their advice and the way that they reflect on you has more to do with the way that they feel and think about themselves, and it's hard for you to be able to translate that within family dynamics.
Yeah.
So if somebody in your family is very afraid of risk, and then you present an idea that's risky to them, then they're going to be like, whoa,
That's
this is a
My
bad
sister-
idea.
My
But it-
sister gets real nervous because
Yeah.
I'm like, just do it.
My
You know,
sisters
and she's
too,
like,
yeah. No, they're
Yeah,
scared.
It's just not her
Yeah.
thing. It's
Yeah.
not
I
her
know.
thing, and that's okay
Yeah.
because it's
get
just, it's
super
uncomfortable
scared,
for
yeah.
her, and that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But me, I'll
Me
my
too.
my
I'm like,
nephews always know if Auntie, if there's a game or there's. I want to bet. They'll call up Auntie Michelle. She'll bet. She doesn't even know what's
Yeah.
I'm in.
All right.
I'm
Yeah.
in. What are we betting on? I don't know, but I'm in.
I think what you're betting on is life. And I actually think that life is a game.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to talk about it like this, but it is. It's a social game that you have to play, that you've got to figure out how you want to
Totally.
engage and how you
Love
want
it.
to be a part of that. Now, I think that the most successful way to play that game is from the outside, not from the inside.
Yeah.
I think it's to be able to observe how the game works and to be able to define how you want to participate when you want to participate.
Totally.
And ultimately, the best version might be to get other people to want to play a different game with you and to stop playing games that don't work and start playing games that do work.
Yeah.
And, but it is a game. And
It is a
anybody who
game.
says that it's not a game is probably the person manipulating you to play it.
Interesting.
Should we do the last one? Last
Okay.
question?
Oh my God, I'm so
Okay. Okay. Ooh. What does living your best life look like to you?
Ooh.
I think I know.
So I
You
can't
go-
say
you
what
go
this
ahead.
is, but it occurs to me. So there's a couple things. I'm a very active person. Love action, love play, love games. Being in the gallery, I tell people, they're like, what's it like? I'm like, it's like being a prisoner. I've never been in one place my whole entire
Oh, you
life
have
for
to
so
be there.
long.
That's true. That's true.
But I've never read a book while I'm there because there's so much to do.
Right.
Okay.
But it occurred to me, and this will be this thing, I'm like, I get to do everything myself. No one has to tell me what to do. You intuitively know how to run a business or a job or what you're doing for whatever skills I've built up over all this lifetime.
Love
and I'm
it.
like, wow, this is great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I really feel like part of this, the running your own business is you're a problem solver.
Yeah.
All the time you can do it.
Yes,
It's like,
constantly.
I don't want the worst part, which would be war. you're surviving. But I love this thing. It's like, so the day before I'm supposed to have the first opening, the ceiling comes down. I come
Always.
in, there's water all
Always
over the
like
place.
that.
Oh,
And there's a
no.
leak from the apartment upstairs. And I call the
my
landlord, and
gosh.
he doesn't have it. I'm like, it's an art gallery. This has to be blah, blah, blah.
Oh, my
so you have to
gosh.
like move quickly. He came by.
Jesus.
We tried to dry it out. He covered the top.
Get
We
me
had the
excited
opening.
when
No one
it's
saw the big
always like
thing.
that.
The next time I had an opening, it was that freak thing like tomorrow's going to be 100 and whatever.
Yeah.
So it's like 60 degrees. That night it spikes to 85. I have the air conditioning on all day long. It's feeling great. The doorknob falls off. Now we can't close the door
Right,
because people
right.
get locked in. Now all the hot air gets in. Everyone's sweating. Almost
Oh,
like
my
collapsed 3 times. Anyways, but you just go with it. It's like,
Right.
but I'm like, I didn't do anything wrong. There's no boss to tell me I did something wrong. There's nothing. And you get to problem solve. You don't have to tell anyone, hey, call that. I don't know. There's something about it. So I feel like right now, and I have good family, some not everyone's well, but everyone's making it, I don't know. The world's another problem, but
Yeah.
Can I just share an observation that I was thinking as you were saying that? That one of the best ways to play the game of life is adaptable.
Oh, yeah.
To be adaptable.
We talk, yeah.
To be able to show up and be like, all right,
Right.
okay. Listen, I can't do anything about what just happened. All I can do is what's about to happen.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
let's get to work. What are we gonna do? You know what I mean? But adaptability
Yeah.
is like, and how lucky are we that we took on journeys that made us have to. If you are doing what you're talking about, there is no way for you to run that gallery without learning how to become adaptable. It will
Yeah.
make you. I feel the same way. I feel like over this last year and a half, the world has taught me the importance of patience in a way that I just did not understand. Like maybe I was a slightly impatient person, and maybe the world needed me to know that. And this year has been like just one lesson after another about patience.
Yeah, I'm not a very patient person. My cousin sent me this thing one time, and it says, "Lord, grant me patience, but hurry."
Yeah.
He said, "That's you,
I
Macelli."
love it.
Yeah.
And it's true.
Well, so much of life takes a year longer than you thought it would.
Yeah.
And a year is a long time.
Yeah.
I don't know how many of these things I'm going to get. So, when you keep
Yeah.
pushing that
But
out.
you have to adapt. You have to, because I know when I was working for that software company, I was on this board, and so we were at this trade show, and they gave us the best booth, and we're in Kansas City, Kansas, and they sent our booth to Kansas City, Missouri. Oh, God. We didn't have a booth. We didn't have anything. We just had this little teeny name flag. And the gal that I was with, she was like hyperventilating. She's like, "Oh my God, what are we going to do?" I said, "We're going to go over that mall,
Yeah.
and we're going to buy Kansas City Chief big popcorn balls, or popcorn
Excellent,
things,
excellent.
and Royals, and we're going to get big teddy bears, and we're going to get all these things because people want to take stuff for their kids.
Yeah.
And we're going to play the sympathy card. We have our computers. We're going to say, our booth didn't come, but we're here.
Yeah.
And we had the biggest line.
I bet.
Excellent.
You know,
I bet.
mean,
Excellent.
you can't cry about it.
Yeah.
You just, another time we were on a tarmac going to Mexico, to Monterrey.
I'm from Monterrey, Mexico.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh. And
was born in
and so we were on the tarmac for four hours, and in Houston, and
Oh my
and so finally we get, we get to the hotel. Her and I shared the room because there was no rooms available, which was fine. And she comes out of the bathroom in the morning, and she's crying. And I said, "What's the matter?" And she said, "There's no hot water." And I'm like, "You just get in there, we'll take a shower, 'cause I gotta take a shower." And we're going over there. She said, "Yeah, but what about our clothes?" Because they wouldn't let us get our clothes because it was an international flight.
Oh.
So, so we had to change once we got to Mexico. And so she had spilled stuff on her shirt. She's like,
no,
"Oh, my
that's
God."
terrible.
I said, "You know what? We're going to go. We're going to change our clothes. And so we get there, and it was October here. It was really, really cold that year.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had winter suits on, and we're like
Sweating.
and they're driving us to the place, and we're putting on our makeup. We get there, and he says, "It's up on the 6th floor." So we get out, and the elevator doors open. They said, "Are you Ms. Miyako?" I said, "Yes." They put a translator and a microphone, and they put me in front of 350 people and say, "Go." And
Just
then,
like that.
And then I looked to talk about my slides. They had translated them all into Spanish, and I don't speak Spanish. And I was like, oh. And I was like, I sure hope I understand what that new version is of that software. And I look over and she's like, always hyperventilating. And I just, you
Go
just
with the
go.
flow,
You
300
just go.
people.
You just go. You have
You
no
just go.
choice, And
You're
so yeah,
amazing.
it was
Oh my
funny.
God.
That is so cool, Monterey. Not a lot of people. What you said about New Mexico, that people only heard Mexico. When
Yeah.
I was born and raised in Monterey, Mexico, and when I left, I moved to Cancun. I was like, peace out, never made it back. But I literally, when I tell people, but nobody knows Monterey, Mexico. You're like probably the third person that I
Oh,
met
wow.
around here that knows
Wow.
that knows and been there. But when I came here, like, oh, from still to this day, oh, Monterey, Mexico, Monterey, California.
You should
Same.
see Percy's consultoria.
Consultoria.
Yeah.
My family,
Yeah.
my mom, and
You should-
everybody's still
that
in
was our
Monterey.
partner there. Yeah.
Everybody's in Monterey, so all my family's in Monterey. I
Oh,
left.
okay.
I'm like, I'm out of here. Never made it back. So yeah.
Yeah. So
So I'm curious for the two of you, what does the best version of your life
Ooh,
look
yeah.
like?
Okay.
Because this is so the one part of the podcast that we didn't talk about when we came on is that the first question encourages us to talk about our past.
Yeah.
The middle question encourages us to talk about our present. And the last question allows us to be able to share a vision for our future. So I'm really curious what the vision for yourself is for the future. Like, what does the best version of your life look like? What do you want to do with the time that you have left? What is going to be amazing about you and your life?
I'm gonna have to sympathize with Nina. What Nina said about her business and being her own, and I mean, yeah, you have to deal with shit and fix and the ability you have to like to everything. That's the best version. You know what it is too cool that I think you probably feel the same. When they come to me, Rosa, I'm like, they trusted me, and I got the solution. But I love that, and it actually makes me so calm. I'm like, we gotta do this. I think I'm really good working under pressure because of my background. But I love that. Like, I love the fact that I get to be my own boss. I show my kids that they can do it. If I can do it, they can do it. I put them to work, even they don't want to, and they go into this fancy college. I don't care. You that wash my dishes. So I love that. That's the best version that I can. Allow me to show them and teach them and give them the best version of themselves and other people too. There are people that come to me, like it's crazy. Like, my dishwasher it's a white guy and a Mexican. And he's like, what? Like me? I'm like, you know what I mean? It's like, and I'm not saying anything. He's no lower, but I was like, oh my God, I came to this country, and I'm like, you know what I mean? And I love him, and I get to give him a job, and that's the best version. That I get to give people jobs, give my kids a good life lesson, and give people the opportunity to trust me with giving them a solution for my business, and that's great.
I just think you're a massive inspiration for the idea that for everybody who you want their life to be better, all you have to do is make your life better. All you have to do is just be the best version of you every day and wake up, and everyone who you're talking about, your kids, the people who work for you, the people who that you share space with, the people who come to your classes, every single one of them
that's cool.
is going to
I
be
know.
better because you wake up every day and become the best version of yourself. I think you're a massive inspiration for that.
Thank you. I don't think so, but thank you. I know. I always tell them, like, I think I have, no, but thank you. It makes me happy.
One thing I try to do as much as I can, especially in the podcast, but anything else, is only try to say things that I believe.
Thank you.
I believe what I just said. I think that a lot of people, if all 11 people who might watch this podcast end up tuning in, I think that you're going to be a massive inspiration for that.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness. Well, I think, leaving maybe I don't know if it's a legacy or what it might be of being a good person. Just, either in my kids, so that they're that way, the people that work for me, that they were able to feel good about them. We had a young intern this year from Endicott, and on his own, he made this video. I'll have to share it with you guys. And he talked about how scared he was and nervous. And when he came in and he had the interview, and he just felt so comfortable right away. And he just loved working with us. And he had some other internships that were really, really horrible. And he just felt so welcomed, and that we taught him so much, and that just, I mean, that in itself was amazing, to have that. And that's what I mean about, because then he can pass that on. That's what I want. I want people to be able to,
Absolutely, yes.
whatever if by any chance I've ever touched anybody, that they then pass that. They go pay it forward. That would be
beautiful.
the best version of myself. And just on a side note, that I can resign from being the general manager of the universe, because I'm the only one who gave myself that job.
Well, I gotta say,
Resign.
if you want to resign from being the general manager of the universe, the best way to do it is to realize that you gave yourself that job. That is
I
the
did.
number
I
one
did.
way to
I
be
did
able
give
to
myself
resign
that
from
job.
that
Oh my
position.
And I
That
need to
is
resign
so
because I don't
funny.
know how to say no.
But I do want to
So-
acknowledge that I saw that video from that young man at Endicott. And I'm a pretty good read on this stuff because I've seen a lot of different versions of this. And that kid's video was authentic, and you made a big difference in his life.
difference.
He just
His career, his
I'm gonna
career,
cry. He was the,
his career will be infinitely better because he met you early in it.
well. It just really touches me because, he said, I want to do business development because I saw how you did it, and you took me to see the clients and work. And it just, and when he did the video, we didn't ask him to do the video.
Right.
He did it during a team meeting. He said, I want to make this right now. And I was just like, wow. And and he's telling other kids, if you want to get an internship, this is what you need to. I was like,
Oh my God. So that's
Yeah.
like, that's it.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was like, wow, that was really, really cool. So that would be the best version of myself, is that
Yeah.
I could help people pay it forward. That's all.
Do you have anything that you want to add from you?
Wow.
No.
I don't have any employees, but I have a lot of community that come in, and,
Yeah.
and
Well, that's
Oliver's
huge.
one of them. It's sort of like all the people that come in are so interesting, and I love that people come in to just be in the space. I like that the space gets used. I like to use it for lots of things because I feel like it's a privilege to have a space. People look for spaces to do
Absolutely.
things or rent or this. It's like, sure, let's have that lecture. Sure,
Mm-hmm.
let's have this. I love being able to be part of the community that way. So it's been really fun for that as well. Yeah. So
That's
I
really
get to,
great.
show art. Hopefully people come in and feel that they can leave some of their problems outside and be around something that's beautiful or interesting or conceptual, and go back out and feel a little bit refreshed. I don't know.
Yeah.
How do you get your art?
All sorts of ways. People come to me. People recommend people. I know people. I make studio visits. Lots of different ways.
Oh, that's
yeah.
really cool. My son is an artist.
The hard part is there are more artists than there are spaces.
Yeah.
The hardest part for me is this might not work here. Yeah.
He's even shown some of his art in Second Life virtually, in a 3D virtual.
Oh, wow.
avatar.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he created a whole art gallery and to show other people's
That is
art.
so
Yeah, it's
cool.
What
very
kind of
cool.
art does he make?
All kinds. He does digital. He does oil. He does everything. Yeah. So
Is
That's
he
so cool.
does it pursue art as a career?
yeah, and
good.
he did. He illustrated a book for Jenny McCarthy. And
Oh, wow.
And he got paid nothing, but it's
That's
funny how
big. You doing that's
when you
huge.
do a celebrity, they just like, oh, you should do this because of my name. Anyway, but I don't want her to hear that. Cut that out.
It happens a lot to artists. It happens a lot to artists.
All 11 people. Don't tell Jenny McCarthy. She might be one of the 11. We could be in trouble here. I don't know. I don't know.
Anyway, but it was very cool because whenever she'd do her tours, and she would say, and the illustrator was Brian Farr, and she would say his name. He's like, Mom, did you see she was on shoes? She was on this, she was on that. So that part was cool. And then when they had the book signing, they asked him to sign books too, and he said, I can't believe
Oh,
that they
that's
were
big. This
That's
is big.
huge.
He's
Very
being treated
cool.
well.
It was
That's
very
all
cool
respect
for
there.
him. Yeah.
That's good.
That was very cool. But and he showed me, in this Second Life. It's, with avatars and everything. And so they go in, it's more community kind
Yeah.
of thing. But when I started this company, that I thought I could make that into a business. I could make it into where you have these like conference room. And so when you click on a link, your avatar appears in a conference room. And then you can, it's voice over IP, so you can talk in there and you click on the chair and your avatar sits in the chair. And, when I would walk up on the podium and my avatar was very cute. I'm going to have an avatar. She was very cute with shiny, shiny jewelry. And I would introduce the speaker. And we would have people from, Gartner or, for analysts and chief architects of the government. It was all in the government. So to sell this to the government 17 years ago was crazy. Wow. And so we did training in there where you could, go into a classroom and you would click on the computer and it would launch that software and it would go into a LMS, learning management system. And you could we did it for the Department of Transportation, and you could walk into a bus and you'd sit down and it'd play a video, then you'd have training, and it was very, very cool. But, he was the one who showed me this, platform, and I thought,
Look at it.
You're the ideas
bulb.
person, though.
I'm gonna
That
make it into a business.
turned into
Yeah,
something.
I love
it was
it.
I loved it. I loved it.
Good for you.
Yeah, and so he actually recreated an avatar for me not too long ago, and then took me through his art gallery. It was
that
very
is
cool.
so
Was she still cute?
Huh?
Was your avatar still cute?
I thought my other one was cute.
I was going to ask you.
But those avatars, they kind of have like a little, they have really kind of sexy avatar. But anyway, yeah.
This is a thing. They're creating these sort of 3D models inside a digital version with all the art hanging on the walls.
Yes.
You can go to the other part of the
And
gallery.
they can buy them.
Yeah.
Because they buy them with Linden, which is like Bitcoin, kind of. Sort
Yeah.
of. And
You can
they-
own
you know,
digital art.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And you could even have it printed somewhere else. It was very, very cool. Yeah. So,
Nice.
yeah.
The world's a very interesting place, and
Yes.
it's only going to get more interesting.
So we have
right?
to
There's
be
going to be
adaptable.
a
We have to
lot.
keep
There's going to be a lot.
adapting.
I just want to say I'm grateful for a lot that came out of this conversation. First and foremost, for the three of you for being such amazing conversation partners, and really, I mean, I just found this to be enjoyable. I don't know
Yeah.
what will ever come from this episode or where it will go or who will see it, but
We know
I
other people
enjoyed
will.
this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Jenny
would-
McCarthy.
I wouldn't.
Call her up.
I'm grateful for
Donnie
being
Wahlberg.
present here. This was
Yes.
a great way to spend
this
an
is great.
evening, and
Thank you
you
so
three are
much.
great
Thank you.
people to
Thank
be able to do with. I also want to say that for all three of you, when you described what the best version of your future looked like, all three of you described your present, which I think is
Yeah.
so inspirational to everyone out there to realize that that it's happening right now. It's happening,
That's
and not everything that's on the horizon is guaranteed
That's
to us,
true.
No.
but everything that is in this room is guaranteed to us right now in this moment. And I am so grateful that at the end of this conversation that we landed at a place for all three of you that feels to me like it's peace with the now.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
and
that's what they say. A present is a gift.
That's good. That's what I was thinking. Every time you say present.
I believe that it is, and I think that maybe presence and gratitude for time are the same thing. And I'm just so grateful to the three of you for being a part of something so early in the process where none of you really understood completely what it was that we were doing here, and you still volunteered to show up, and you still expressed yourself through curiosity. And I hope that in some way that what comes out of this can be an inspiration to other people to want to do the same. So thank you. I'm appreciative of all of you. And I think that is a wrap for this episode
Thank
of
you.
Unscripted.
I think we're all
Room.
honored
Thank
to
you.
be asked.
Yes,
and
yes,
really
thank you.
enjoyed
Thank
sharing
you.
with
Me
this
too.
Really
table.
appreciate that. Thank
And
you.
love
the
it.
deep conversations.
Yeah.
Yes.
Really great.
Thank
Well,
you.
it was genuinely a pleasure. I don't know what I'll do with the rest of my life, but I am so grateful that this part of my career is happening right now, because I can't think of something that I would rather do than sit around a table with people and just try to have genuine conversation and try to figure out what we can what can we fall in love with about each other, but also what can we fall in love with about what's in front of us for the world. Like, I think that there's a lot left out there for us to be really excited about. And I think that for whatever reason, people are very committed right now to talking about what's going wrong. And I want to be very, very committed to talking about what can go right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And thank you so much. This
Thank
is so
you.
nice. And I think it's so cool how we meet people.
Right.
Like you and I
Yeah.
met each other.
Because we have the same hairdresser.
Yeah.
What? Hold on.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and the way that did she tell you? So I'm getting my hair cut, and
I love this.
and the hair and my hairdresser, who's amazing, by
Yeah,
the
I
way.
love her.
Everybody should go to her.
She's in Amsterdam?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's like, first of all, I think I'm probably a strange person to get my hair cut because I am allergic to small talk.
Oh.
Which is so much of what getting your haircut normally is. It's just like chit chatting about
You're like, no.
Yeah.
Bring the mic.
Yeah, so me and Ashley are getting into like deep shit about family and like we're talking about all this crazy stuff. We're getting a haircut,
She's
and
great.
I'm like at the very last stage of leaving the place, and she's like, "Oh, I forgot that Michelli was the next person to come in. Like, I got somebody you've got to talk to. You've got to." And it was great. I just walked right up to you and
Introduced yourself and
yeah,
I love it.
twice we've met.
yeah.
Yeah.
Aw,
amazing.
I love
three?
it.
Twice. Yeah, twice.
Connection is an incredible gift.
It is.
It really is.
And then now I know you wonderful ladies. So this
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
cool.
I feel the same.
I got to go check out your places.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm
We'll
gonna
tag you.
I know
I'm
you
right
probably.
around the corner
Can I take
here.
a selfie right here?
I'm
with-
just right around
Of course
the
you
corner.
can. Of course you can.
Guys, over here. Nice. And you guys have to come over.
Oh, for
Yeah,
sure.
Or
For
a
sure.
cooking class, please.
I actually.
I think I want to have you guys in a cooking class, and
I
that'll
would
be
love to do a
you'll
cooking
be my
class.
VIP guest.
I would love to do.
I
a
would
cooking
love
class.
that too.
Yeah. I need the help too, though. So I think I could be a pretty.
So the coming up, cooking class coming up is July 13. It's a Monday. I'm actually collaborating with an amazing girl. Oh, this is a great story. This lady from Costa Rica. She was my English teacher at Northern Essex Community College. She failed me.
She's in your class?
Well, no,
no.
she wants to collaborate with me on a cooking
wow.
class. So, yeah, the world works like so funny in different ways. She's great. I mean, she failed me. We never talk about it. She hasn't brought it up. But, yeah, so I don't think she works for Northern Essex Community College, but she works remote from the coffee shop, and she knows I was doing all this. I always try to bring. Last year, I did a collaboration with a bunch of my friends, so customers there from Latin America, because we have the Mexican cooking and stuff, but we don't have the Venezuelan, the Cuban, the Spanish. So I collaborate. She found out. She was like, Rosa, can I do it? I want to collaborate. And I'm like, oh yeah, remember you failed me? No, I didn't say that.
Do you play Shakira in the background?
How can we sign up? Is
No,
it at your
just let me know
website, or-
because actually, because it was weird. I'm doing a very, very aggressive marketing campaign, and people are not buying tickets. Normally, all my cooking classes are sold out. Not to brag, but they all get sold out. But this one in particular, I don't know what it is. I threw a very aggressive marketing campaign to Eventbrite, to my mailing address and all that stuff, and I only got 4 tickets left. So I don't want to cancel on her because I don't want her to think that I'm doing. I want to support her. Yeah. So if you guys are available I'm not kidding. You're my guest.
Oliver, do you want to do a cooking class?
Yes. And
I'll
this
do a
is
cooking
actually
class.
easy.
Okay, so I would like to buy 2 tickets
So
for,
that's
for at least me and Oliver to come to this.
July
for sure.
13th.
What kind of day of the week is that?
Monday.
What kind of day is the 13th?
It's a Monday, and we actually easy. It's gonna be easy. We're
Is it
just
in
gonna
the
do.
evening, or?
It's a Monday.
No,
Monday at
it's-
5 p.m.
Oh, at 5 p.m.?
Yeah, and
I
we
just have to look.
Is it
Yeah.
at the tannery?
It's at the tannery at my space, and we're doing something easy. And it's summer. I didn't want.
What is it?
It's a Costa Rica ceviche and a fruit salad. So
I've
actually,
always
tickets
wanted
are
to try ceviche, but I've never tried it.
yes.
Oh, okay.
And the tickets actually, I lowered the tickets almost 50% of what I charge because I know the impact. Like it's great, it's great, and I want to support her.
Mm-hmm.
And
nice.
Well,
and
I'm
she's great.
excited about this. I would really I am excited to take a cooking class.
I
So
would
you-
too. I just have to check my schedule, but that.
Yeah.
If
I
you
wouldn't
go on
think
my
that would easy.
Instagram on Rosita's Cocina and click on the bio, it'll take you right away to the Eventbrite
Okay.
page, and you can purchase tickets from there.
Okay.
If you cannot, I mean, I don't know. Oliver has my number, but it's easy. Or my website, rositascocina.com. There's a cooking class. And it will take you right to purchase your tickets, and you can just purchase the
Thank
ticket.
you.
I only
Okay.
have 4 tickets.
Okay.
It's we're still like almost 2 weeks. No, 13 days from now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll
I
just
love
have
the
to-
cooking
I just have to look
classes.
to see.
Yeah, me
But
too.
I don't have it.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
name sounds like it might just like
One other
that
thing that
day,
we're going
but-
to try to do, guys, is we're going to try to make for anybody who's come onto the podcast, we're going to try to keep a sense of community for anybody who's done it. So there's a couple things that we're going to try to do. At the end of the whole season, I think we're going to throw a curiosity party in Newburyport.
Ooh,
And
I wanna
and
donate
invite
food.
anybody that's been a guest, and maybe we can collaborate with you to.
I'm already donated food.
Okay,
don't
we'll figure
ever-
out. You don't have to
just
donate
tell me how
anything.
many people.
We'll pay for all of it because we love to support local businesses and to make sure that we're supporting each other. The whole idea of this is to build a community,
Yes.
and community exists based on wanting to patronize each other, right? Wanting to make sure. We definitely can figure out something to do for the gallery. And
Well, the
make
other thing
that
is,
work.
I also make art, and a lot of what I do is experiential, so people share something.
Okay.
So I would love to make a thing
Okay.
that people have to do.
Okay,
Nice.
So
If you're up
stay.
for that.
Let's
That's
all
right.
stay in
Okay.
touch
Yeah.
because
Yes,
any
please,
any
yeah.
way that
Yeah.
this organization can help your organizations, that I think is
I
part
have a
of what
lot
it
of
is that we
galas
want to
that I
do.
do because I'm on a lot of boards. So I'm doing the Firehouse Center for the Arts.
Oh,
I'm on the
nice.
board. So we're doing it for the children's program. So it's Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Awesome.
We're gonna adult it up.
Great.
Fun. We have a great band, great band. That's September 11th. And then I'm helping with Merrimack Valley Philharmonic Orchestra.
Wow.
And they're going to have the woman who was in Broadway for Wicked.
Oh,
She's the
wow.
one who did who's the green one? Elphaba?
Yeah, they,
whatever. Elphaba? Elpha. Anyway, the Green Witch. And then she was also in Waitress, and her husband's going to be there, and he was in Waitress. And they're going to be
Wow.
singing all the songs. It's like a 72 piece orchestra. And they're going to play all Broadway hits. So you'll recognize.
Amazing.
That's in
That's
October.
fancy.
October 13th.
Oh my gosh.
And then for the Salvation Army, so this is where I can't say no. There's a boat cruise, and yeah, so there's lots.
Well, we
of
got to get
things.
this in before you retire from CEO of everything.
Yeah,
I
the
know.
universe.
Yeah,
I
we
know.
gotta figure out when.
The general
Yeah.
manager of the universe.
I love you.
The COU.
Can I ask one favor of the three of you?
Yes.
On the way out, we're gonna just give you some envelopes. If you know anybody else who you think would enjoy having a
have some people
conversation
for
like
you.
this, will you just encourage them to come
Yes.
on? Because I think that the biggest issue that we've had is finding people
I have
who
3 people for you.
Okay.
I mean, anyways, later.
Yeah.
Anybody that you know, let them go to the website,
Yeah.
jump onto the themes. But if this was a cool experience for you, we would love the community's support to try to go find other curious people. We think
Love
that
it.
so we're never going to advertise ever. The only thing that we're ever going to do is we're going to allow word of mouth to allow this to spread and get
I
bigger.
love
And
that.
Told 50
Yeah.
people this morning.
thank,
Oh yeah,
Thank you,
you're
Michelle.
talking to the marketing queen.
Michelle's word
Are
of
you
mouth
kidding
is
me?
unbelievable. I got to tell
Yeah, I
you, she's
literally
To hold her
Yeah.
down.
She's
I
insane.
literally said, I am on a podcast.
Yes.
So, and I will send that out to everyone. Yeah.
love it.
If tonight or tomorrow, if anything comes up for the three of you, and you're like, you know what, I just don't want this podcast to get out there, let us know, and
So
we'll.
we could see it before it goes out, or no?
We could we make that work, Oliver?
We can make that work.
Yeah. So if you want to see, but we try to put the podcast out in whole 48 hours after we shoot it, so
Okay.
that we're just trying to keep it as real as we can from what
Yeah,
we
yeah,
did
yeah.
to what they see. But we did want to make sure that for anybody who's on the podcast, I think the three of you should be very proud of what you just
I
did.
am.
I think it's
I
an
am.
amazing
Happy to be
experience.
I'm like,
Everybody-
Lisa.
Everybody who knows me knows all this.
Right,
anyway,
I'm
so-
same.
Yeah.
But
same.
what we'll do is we'll post the podcast, but we'll also send it out to everybody who's going to be on the podcast for the rest of the season, which I don't know if you know, Oliver, what our number is, but so there's 18 episodes over the next 9 weeks. And I think that we have
you guys are gonna be busy.
more than I think we've got more than half of the seats seats filled, which is pretty incredible.
That's great.
From where we started.
And
So
I had 2 people. I don't know if you've already filled those spots or not, but I'll get that.
yeah. I think that the key is just getting people talking. And as soon as we get people talking, I think it'll grow. And then thank you for any help that you can provide to
Thank
that.
you.
because we're
Oh my
really
God.
excited.
And Oliver, thank you.
Oliver, we love
Oliver's
you.
amazing.
Oliver's amazing.
If I can toot his horn for a second, you know him already.
Yeah.
First of all, he embodies curiosity. It is a lot of hard work back there because we all get to focus on each other. He has to focus on us and a keyboard that's switching between not only 4 cameras, but he also has multiple shots on each camera,
And
and
the
he's doing it
audio.
live.
I feel bad. Sorry, I ate empanada because I know you were probably working. I was trying. I don't know if you saw me. I was like,
I
oh
saw
my
that.
God. I'm like,
I saw that. I muted your mic.
I was like, oh my God, I feel so bad, but I had to eat something. I didn't eat
Yeah,
anything all day,
and-
and I'm like, poor Oliver. He's like, oh my God, she's doing it.
And Oliver cut that part out when I had to go to the ladies' room.
Oh no, we always cut that part out.
That's
But,
the human factor.
No, you're human. Hey, hello. We just talk about it.
but I
They are
do think
delicious.
Oliver is a great example of why we should all be very confident that the world's going to get better. Because
Yes,
he
yes.
is
Oliver.
he is exactly the kind of young man that I think embodies why we should be hopeful, not feeling pessimistic about what the world can be. Because he's curious, he's kind,
Yes.
and he is extremely compassionate about the best interests of the
That's
people he
awesome.
comes in
Yes.
contact with. So I think we
Oliver.
should do nothing but try to encourage young people to be more like that in every way that we can. So Oliver, you're the best. I appreciate you. This is season 1, episode 1 in the can for the 2 of us. Great job, Oliver.